Do you want a more immersive experience? Thrustmaster T150 force feedback racing wheel. Official PS3 and PS4 licenses, and also PC compatible. Rubber coated wheel grips. 1080 degrees of rotation. Adjustable force feedback. Large metal sequential pad. Optimized ergonomic design. Mixed belt, pulley, and gears system. Thrustmaster. Enter into the real driving world.
Keep it up.
Whoa, wait! Oh no, big mistake! I had to go back last and down to 10. No, he's dynamic conference. It has been an absolutely astonishing season. Well, hello there, everybody, and welcome this evening to round 6 of 12 of the 2018 Formula Sim Racing World Championship, sponsored by Thrustmaster. From the British lands of Silverstone to the wonderful Hockenheim Ring. It's one of Germany's legendary tracks, and one where we're hoping to see plenty of overtaking here as we continue on with the European part of the season. My name is James Kirk, and alongside me I have two rather wonderful gentlemen. First of all, my co-commentator, Mr. Cameron Rodger, and on cameras, Mr. Peter Schulze. So welcome, gentlemen. Nice to have you with me.
Hello, welcome.
Hi, James.
This is obviously your first broadcast in FSR, so
Yes.
Let's hope we put on a good show for you today, and hopefully you enjoy your first time commentating with us.
Oh, thank you so much. And actually, Peter, you've just come from the Ace race just an hour ago, wasn't it? Where I believe you scored a point for yourself. So slight troubles, I realise, but a point at the end of the day must have felt good.
Well, I guess it felt good. The race
Yeah?
wasn't really what I was looking for. To be honest, it was quite boring. And I would rather
okay.
not think about the race again.
Just
Well,
focus on the broadcast now.
Yeah, may have been boring for you. Unfortunately, down in P10, I think we should go in the end. But at the front, it was actually quite a good race. There was lots of strategies going on, and that's definitely going to be a part that's going to be played today, because we've got a slightly longer race, so it's even more opportunity for different strategies, different tyre compounds. The tyre compounds for today are the super soft, the soft, and the medium. Obviously, in qualifying, they'll all be using the super soft pretty much, unless they want to start on a different type of tyre. But yeah, in the race, there's probably going to be a mixture of sort of 3 stops, 4 stops, and people trying lots of different things. But that is all to come.
Yeah, I mean, plenty of different race strategies. If you haven't watched the Ace or Pro races earlier, then first of all, stay where you are. Let's watch the World Championship stuff while it happens now. But of course, they're all on replay on the Formula Sim Racing YouTube channel for your viewing pleasure afterwards. But as Cam says, we're now into qualifying, of which, if you're new here at the Formula Sim Racing World Championship, much like myself, then let me just take you through the proceedings. So we've got a 20-minute session for the drivers to set a fastest lap, of which at the moment, I guess we're looking at a battle once again between the only two people who've taken a pole position this year, Jurne Simoncic and Michele D'Alessandro. Of course, someone maybe your Hoyer or your Patel might spring a surprise. We'll wait and see on that one. But then, of course, we've got the race, 67 laps long, the 12th running of the German Grand Prix on the World Championship calendar. It's sure to be an exciting one. And I noticed that our first lap of the day is going to be probably posted by Sergei Heras, who's just going around turn 1, Cam.
Yeah, in the practice session, Sergio got, I think, the third fastest time, if I'm not mistaken. So he's obviously on some good form today. Not had the best season so far, been involved in a couple of incidents. Some not his fault, but he is obviously on the pace today, as it seems, and he is coming down into the hairpin in his flag engineering car. He, as I say, he hasn't really had many high qualifying performances, but let's see if he can get one today. He negotiates the hairpin. A lot of wheel movement there from Sergi. Obviously, maybe not feeling the car quite to his liking, as the railroad will continue building through the session. And again, through turn 8, he's moving the wheel a lot, but the car looks nice and planted up into 6th gear. Coming up towards the stadium section, 7th gear. Does he keep it flat out? No, little lift off, down into 7th gear, now into the Sachs curve. Very cambered corner. You can take a lot of speed into it in 3rd gear, 4th on the exit, through the flat out chicane and up to these final 2 corners, which are very crucial. Do not go wide, do not go into that gravel. Keep it nice and tight and work your way out onto the start finish line for a very quick lap here, a 1:10.7. It's over before you even started.
It's a decent lap, that, though I think we were all saying probably looking at maybe 1:10 flats for your pole position time. I'm sure Sergio will be looking to want to improve there. Of course, you saw him turn over to the side, escape out, transport back to the garage. That's totally allowed here. I know there's so many different interpretations of how to run qualifying amongst different simulators, amongst different leagues. You're okay to do this. And once the 20-minute timer runs out, by the way, you're still able to finish your flying hot lap. And actually, speaking of Heras, the flag-to-flag contingent is looking very strong here. Heras was P3 in free practice, followed by his SimRacing side counterparts in Gosby and La Pala. They were 4th and 5th overall. The only one kind of out of position, Florian Becker down in P17. So maybe those guys looking for a strong showing today, Cam. I'm sure you would like that. Of course, ACR Zach Speed locking out that front row in pre-practice. So a little bit further to go before we're looking at the top step, maybe.
Well, I'm sure the Musta and Sabema guys will have something to say about that, as well as the Zach Speed guys. And Michele D'Alessandro coming into the final 2 corners now. It has got purple in the first 2 sectors, looking to go top of the timesheets already, even though there's only been 1 lap set so far. And what does he do? Yes, a 10.288, which I think is the fastest time we have seen today so far. So yeah, that's Michele already showing the pace that he has got, and I'm sure with a couple of more laps we can get down probably to a 10 flat, as you say.
Yeah, I think it was 10.3, which is what Simonchich posted in free practice. And Florian, of course, Germany being your home track on this particular calendar as well. What sort of action areas are we going to be looking for in regards to qualifying? I mean, of course, when it comes to the race, we're looking at the hairpin after the Parabolica as an overtaking spot, but is it also one of those key areas which can make or break your middle sector, especially as we saw with Heras earlier on, having a little wiggle on exit?
Yeah, I think exits in general, out of all of these slow corners, are very, very important. Like especially the hairpin. I'm looking at Ville Lepala now here at the Mercedes curve. It's really important to have good exits, but then afterwards comes a really technical part of the track. So it's a quite difficult one because it requires high speed, top speed. It requires good acceleration. It requires like good downforce in the third part of the track, so it's a pretty interesting circuit.
Flung his way through Mobile 1 there, didn't he? We're going to follow Lapala across the line. The Finnish driver posting a 1:10.5. That puts him into P3 behind his teammate Martin Gosby. So the flag-to-flag sim racing guys really translating that good free practice pace into good qualifying pace as well. Parisis and Araneda are also posting times. Parisis way off, about 1.4 seconds off that provisional pole time of D'Alessandro so far, so he's got to improve a little bit. And actually, speaking of Parisis, we find that there's not as many drivers here today, Cam. Only 20 out of the supposed 28 maximum capacity field. So I'm guessing for the drivers that are here who are perhaps not so much looking at points positions when the field is a little fuller, it's a great opportunity for them today to try and grab one for themselves now.
Yes, the points go down to 10th place. So obviously, with 20 people, you've got 50% chance of getting points. Unfortunately, Madcape have departed the championship as of this round, so there is one less team, which is
so 26 maximum, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's 26 because there's now 13 teams, not 14. But yeah, I mean, obviously, there's just some people away here and there. And for instance, I think Manasakis is away. He was doing the 24 Hours of Le Mans overnight, and obviously has decided to not take part in this for whatever his reasons were. But that's just how things go sometimes. And Simičić, as we were talking, has just set in a new fastest lap of the day, a 10.22, obviously showing that him and Michaela will be fighting for the pole position today.
600. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to carry on saying that. Obviously, yeah, you are right. People who are sort of in the 10th to 15th battle do have a higher chance of getting points today.
Yeah, for sure. And 600ths between Simičić and D'Alessandro. Incredibly close. And it kind of shows as well in the fact that these are the only two drivers who've either taken a pole position or won a race. Simičić winning the way in poles, but D'Alessandro winning the way in actual wins. And as we all know, points are won in the race. And so in that particular situation, D'Alessandro definitely the one to look out for. Is Simicic's teammate, actually, Hoyer, has popped up into P4, and Danny Kish has gone up into P6.
Yeah, one thing Michaela's done very well this year is he has been unbelievably consistent in the races. He has always been there when it matters. Yeah. In Canada, I think he qualified P11. He was completely out of it, and he came second or third in the end. Can't remember exactly, but he brought that race back to him on the strategy, on his pure pace and his consistency, and that is one reason why he's leading the championship right now. Because people like Yerne, for instance, just as quick by every means, but hasn't quite had the same consistency and the same performances that we've seen from Michaela.
Well, I mean, you've only got to look back to 2 weeks ago at Silverstone, when, of course, that huge crash at the end of the race saw him off the podium and saw Michi Hoyer, his teammate, take his place. Ultimately, consistency is key, and okay, you've got to have a certain level of pace to remain in the top parts of points-paying positions, but mistake, accident, whatever you want to call it, is still under review by the COA, by the way, to anyone interested in what the outcome to that was. Those are the sorts of incidents which are going to lose you championships. And, well, he's got a long way to come back now, even though we're halfway through the championship. The gap is already something like 20 points, if I remember correctly.
Yes, I will just grab up the actual stat, but I think, yes, it's 20-something points, so it's not by any means over. I mean, we still got 7 races left. Yeah, 27. Yeah, that sounds about right. So it's not the biggest gap in the world. I mean, Simičić is going to need to win races, considering the consistency of Michaela. But, I mean, we just seen here, he's just put in the purple first sector in qualifying. We know he has got the pace. He just needs to... I don't really know how to describe it. He needs to sort of get around the fact of Michaela being so consistent, and he just needs to go in and do the laps and do everything that he can to get these race wins, and that starts with getting pole position today.
Well, it's not exactly like he finds getting pole position difficult.
Oh, of course
12 pole positions, 12 career pole positions, I should say, and one of the most experienced men on the grid at this point as well, currently contesting his 69th event. Is that an improvement? Indeed it is. Wow. A further 10th shaved off there by Yerne Simičić. But Peter, I don't know, is it easier? Oh, as his teammate there, Michi Hoyer posts a 10 point, just shy of a 10.2 there, a 10.194. So it's an ACR Zach Speed front row at the moment. But Peter, is it easier said than done to find race consistency? Because it's all fair and well getting up the front end of the grid and not having anyone in front of you when the race starts itself. But the race on this particular evening, I should say, is 67 laps. And we've seen so many occasions over the over 10 plus years that the World Championship has been running. Strategy can play a huge part as well. And if Yerne's not on his A game with that, then, well, someone like your D'Alessandro is going to pick up the pieces, as Martin Gosby also comes into P2 now.
Yeah, Martin Gosby certainly having a good session here today, and also Lapella in P6, so the flags flag car working well.
Yeah. Sorry, Peter. Sorry, going back to that part. I've realised I've mixed up two completely different points there. I was just blown away by Gosby's P2 effort.
Yeah, so what we've seen so far in the season is that the Musto and Sabema guys are extremely strong with consistency strategy.
Yeah.
Putting the right tires on at the right time, pacing the race extremely good. Like if they know they don't need to be in front in the stint, they will just stay behind you and save fuel for 20 laps. And Janne has to find a way to get out of the Sabema and Musto with him. So different strategies, maybe better strategies, maybe be faster so the other guys can't save fuel, maybe save fuel themselves. It's like hard to do. Seems like Sabema and Musto always have the upper hand, but I think Janne can figure something out.
I think we all hope so, because ultimately, as spectators ourselves, along with you, the audience, we hope you're enjoying the show so far, by the way, we all want to see a close championship, whether it be in the teams, whether it be in the drivers. It's just exciting to know that as the races go by, there is still a mathematical opportunity for someone to overtake the other. And, well, obviously we will see. One retirement from D'Alessandro could throw everything out the window. It only takes one mistake. It only takes one incident for that to happen. Just taking a little another peek down the order. Florian Becker, actually, that's a little bit more like it. P8 there for the Dutchman. He's contested every single event so far this season, not scored a single point. Is today the day? And actually in front of our reigning champion Mohammed Patel, as that was an all from Cam.
Yes, so we saw this last time out as well. Mohammed Patel was slipstreaming Michele D'Alessandro there. We won't see a sector time for another 500 meters or so, but definitely some slipstreaming going along there to get him the extra couple of tenths that he might need to get pole position. We saw this in Silverstone, and he gained, I think, about 2 tenths in the final sector and put it on pole position by a good margin. And trying to see, yes, purple middle sector, not a surprise at all from D'Alessandro right there, coming through the Sachs curve right now. What can he do coming into this final little complex? 2 right-handers to go. Is this going to be provisional pole position for Michele D'Alessandro? He comes to the line. Can he get a 10 flat?
Yeah,
no.
Simic has improved to a 10 flat, yeah, and unfortunately, yeah, D'Alessandro
lost
they're
it.
not able to improve. Yeah.
Simicic's last sector is 2 tenths quicker than Michele. So maybe Michele needed the... Actually, no. I was thinking maybe he's got low wings, but maybe not in that case. Maybe Simicic is just good in that final sector.
I think he's good all over the track is the main point that we're trying to get at here, because Simicic was faster in sector 1. D'Alessandro used Patel as Hoyer goes into P2, so ACR Zaxby looking great, but I mean, we saw D'Alessandro using Patel for slipstreaming, and that was the only sector he was faster than Simicic in. Actually, speaking of the last sector, that is a purple one from Hoyer there to take that P2. I do wonder whether the sharp pace has slightly abandoned Michele on this particular occasion. Because, I mean, it's one thing to be behind your championship leader, but he's also got Hoyer and Gosby in between them now as well. I
think Michele isn't overly worried as to where Simicic is, because P4 is still not that bad, and it's only a couple of tenth here or there that will give you a couple of spaces, and he only really needs to worry about where Simicic is. I mean, the fact that, I mean, he's not really worried about Gosby and Hoyer regarding the championship so much. So if they get in front of him, I don't think he'll be overly annoyed. But clearly there must be different setups running here, because both of the ACR cars are 2 tenths quicker than Michele in the final sector, which is huge considering it's only 3 corners.
Oh, this might be a slight improvement from Martin Gosby as well. His first sector was only a 10th off, really, the top 2 guys. In between Simicic and Hoyer for that middle sector. What is his final one going to post here? No improvement, unfortunately. So, just over 2.5 minutes left of qualifying. It's Simicic currently on provisional pole from Hoyer, and Martin Gosby looking to get his season back on track after a slightly patchy first half so far. Other standouts really Araneda up there in P7. Kish looking to continue his good form in P5. Burlak's just gone up into P9. What of Mo Patel and Jim Paresis, though, currently sitting outside of the top 10. They've got some work to do if they want to get back up in there.
Yeah, maybe Patel sacrificed one of his laps for the slipstreaming of Michaela, but it does look like ACR seem to have the fastest package here today, because even Peter Burlak is down in 9th place. So the Musto boys aren't having the best race, although it is only a couple of tenths here and there. So maybe their setup is more related to maybe saving the tyres in the race or something along those regards.
Was it France where there was a very similar situation when Musto came back halfway through the race because of strategy?
Which race, sorry?
France.
I think that was actually Canada, where like basically all these Sabem and Musto guys started around P10.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
But
And D'Alessandro worked his way through the field.
Yeah, this was also well, Michi Hoyer started there as well. It was like just Canada is a Yone Simitic track, so he just put it on pole like half a second in front of everyone, and that's like what he does at Canada every year. So
yeah.
But yeah, that was Canada. And I think that's what ACR is worried about the most. That the strategy of the Sabem and Musto guys are a bit stronger, or maybe their setup is a bit better suited for the race, and ACR setup is a bit better for the qualifying.
We're just going to have to wait and see, aren't we? All the more reason for all of you viewers to stick around and watch the race, as I think it's worth going to be taking a little look at Michi Hoyer here as everyone begins their final laps of this qualifying session here at the Hockenheimring. Of course, Michi at his home track. Oh, what he would do to take a race win. He's kind of in that weird middle ground of he's a strong second driver. He's shown so much potential so far this season, but he's just not had that sharp pace to A, overturn his teammate Yerne, and then B, overturn everyone else in the field who's got that pace, such as your D'Alessandros. It is not a good first sector from Hoyer, as it's equally not a good first sector from Gosby or Simincic either. 15.6s. They might have to try and find a little bit more, as Burlak's done. He exits out on track, so Burlak is going to start at best P9. That's a disaster for the Musto driver. This is a bit better from the middle sector for Hoyer, a 33.4. It's still not sharp end pace. And oh, that's a real wiggle on the exit of the Sachs curves, and he loses it completely. And that is Hoyer's lap over. I think the only person now who's potentially... No. The only person who was on a fast lap otherwise was Yerne Simincic. And I don't think anybody else, maybe barring Mo Patel, is going to see an improvement here. In fact, Mo's just finished his lap. He goes up to P7. And so it is Yerne Simincic, for the 4th time this year, who takes pole position.
Yeah, what can I say? The ACR cars are showing they really have the pace, because they are, well, basically a 10th quicker than Martin Gosby in 3rd, who's a further 10th to Michele D'Alessandro. So ACR definitely have got a good setup going here. They've got some good rhythm around this track, and well, Michele has some work to do if he's going to win the race, but it's not out of question.
Oh, for sure, and well, disappointments certainly for the likes of Burlak and Paresis. Burlak just inside the top 10, though. When you look at how close it is, the top, let's see, how far down does this go? The top 14 separated by 7 tenths. You can understand why it's happened. Certainly a shout out to Kish and Lapala with good efforts up there in 5th and 6th. And Heras and Araneda as well. We were looking at them thinking, oh, they might spring a surprise. And a surprise they have sprung indeed. 8th and 9th for the two of them. We're going to talk a little bit more about the reaction to qualifying and the build-up to the race after these messages.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah.
Okay, so who got penalties?
Jos +5, and
Wait,
that's
wait,
it.
wait, wait. Oh,
The only other person is Zabala, but he's not here, and Yene, but he's under COA review. Oh wait, no, Petter got a time penalty, didn't he?
yes. No, yes. I don't know. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, because Petter was a race ban, and then there was apparently a time penalty.
Just qualified 8th? Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Lol.
Okay, create broadcast file. Copy.
Hey man, I got that new TMX Thrustmaster wheel. It's going down.
Xbox One?
I can't wait to play when I get home.
You'll let me play?
Yeah, after I play first. Yeah.
You know, I'll race it for it.
So I have a hand.
Guru, keep it up.
Whoa! Wait! Oh no! Big mistake! Edwards!
Go back last and down to 10. It has been an absolutely astonishing season.
Right, well, welcome back everyone to round 6 of the 2018 Formula Sim Racing World Championship, sponsored by Thrustmaster. We apologise for the wait. We've been having a couple of technical difficulties. We wanted to make sure that the broadcast was as nice and spick and span as possible before we come back to give you the race live. If you missed out on qualifying, Jene Simoncic took his 4th of the season, and it's an ACR Zach Speed front row lockout with his teammate Mitchy Hoyer coming in second, closely followed up by Martin Gosby from flag to flag sim racing. And before we head into the race, Cameron Rodger and Peter Schulze, the two men alongside me. I'm James Kirk, by the way. Let's take a little look at the top 10 of the drivers' standings, just to get a better idea of where everyone is sitting and where they could potentially sit at the end of today. So D'Alessandro leading the way by 27 points from Jene Simoncic. We then have the two Mustos of Burlak and Patel in behind, with Hoyer in 5th. Paris is just about hanging on, though. He had a poor qualifying. He's going to have to pull out a big drive to try and maintain that gap to the 5 ahead of him. And it's kind of like the midfield scrap. We've got Mashuli, Van Delft, Callas, who's actually serving a race ban here today, and then the Parla rounding out the top 10, of course. Team standings, Cam, we know the story by now. Musto, Avid Chronic, and Sabima, they're the 3 really in with a chance of winning the team's title. But for today, a chance for Simoncic to gain some crucial points back on Michele D'Alessandro. And so, as the rFactor man says his wonderful things as always, I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Peter Schulze to take you through our grid for the 12th German Grand Prix.
So, as we heard before, we have an ACR front row with Jene Simoncic Jene Simoncic actually is how he's called. In P1 we have Mitchy Hoyer on his home Grand Prix in the 2nd place. Martin Gosby from flag to flag is in 3rd. Then we have Michele D'Alessandro in P4. Behind them are Daniel Kish from Netrex and Villa Lapala from flag to flag. Ruben Patel and Sergi Harras in the next row. Then we have Peter Berljak and Florian Becker in P9 and P10. We have James Sadler and Jim Parisis in 11th and 12th. Behind them are Jos Aronator and Felix van Delft. In P15 we have Rens Klopp, who's actually taken over from Marco Conti, I think, for the rest of the season. Harley Hamnet in P16. You have Kirill Burukov in P17, David Krager in P18. And on the last row we have Gianfranco Giglioli and Jordan Weeks.
And of course, Eros Mashuli, a late comer, didn't even take part in qualifying. He is going to start from the pit lane. And Cam, a lot of these guys choosing to start the race on the super softs. I noticed actually in 10th place, Florian Becker there choosing to go on the soft tyres. As I said before, a chance perhaps for Simoncic to gain some crucial points on his championship rival, D'Alessandro, but for the rest of the field, a chance to maybe score points when perhaps earlier in the season there might have been no chance.
Yeah, and we will see one interesting fact at the Martin Gosby. We've seen him qualifying quite high in the last few races, but it didn't quite work out on the race, unfortunately. So we will have to see if this time around his pace in the race will be better than his qualifying pace.
Yes, absolutely. It seems like Mr. Rodger is a little preoccupied, of course, keeping an eye over the wider events of the race. And Peter, you've been in a start here at the Hockenheim literally a couple of hours ago. Turn 1 is very difficult, isn't it? But ultimately, you've just got to try and stay safe rather than go for a move. And from there on, the rest of the Grand Prix lays ahead of you.
Yeah, well, apparently not only turn 1 is difficult, but the start itself as well, because I didn't even get to turn 1 before there was like a massive crash in front of me. But yeah, turn 1 here is a pretty hard one because it's like nearly flat out, but at the start of the race it's not really flat out and it will bunch up, but everyone like usually goes faster, so it's a tricky one.
Well, everyone lining up now in their grid boxes. As I say, it's a slightly depleted field from the usual. And so hopefully all these guys will realize that the race is 67 laps long. And there is a real chance here that they can score some points, whether they're battling at the top in the midfield or looking to get on the board in the first place. Simoncic on pole, the two drivers in the pit lane going to the end of that now. We got 1 light, we have 2, we have 3, and we have 4. And when the 5th light extinguishes, we're racing. And it looks like a pretty decent start there from Simoncic. Hoyer straight in behind, and through turn 1 we go then. Everyone looking to try and get through as best as possible. It looks like Becker's off, looks like Paris is off. But ultimately, no one in real grief. Nobody's spinning, which is good to see. For the ACR boys, though, it is a fantastic start for those two as we head into the Parabolica. For the first time of asking, of course, we do have DRS in the World Championship. Of course, it doesn't come into effect until lap 3, but in the meantime, there's still plenty of natural slipstream to enjoy as Daniel Kish here comes under a little bit of pressure from Mohamed Patel, who throws his way up the inside. And through he goes into, through the hairpin. There we go. I was getting my words out properly. Daniel Kish losing a position here as we move through the Mercedes arena now. Anyone just looking to jostle for position. Man, Delp's made a good start up to P10. Burlak up a place as well into P8. Lapala up into P7. Harris down to P9, and so is Araneda, who's had a bad start. He's down to P15 from such a good qualifying as well. Inside the top 10. Just heading through our final section of the track now into the final couple of right-handers. And at the end of lap 1, Peter, it is Jerne Simoncic who leads from Michi Hoyer, although we'll have to go into turn 1 here, I think. Oh, no, okay. Gosby was having a look. It wasn't the case. So Hoyer remains in second from Gosby, D'Alessandro, Patel, Kish, Lapala, Burlak, Heras, and Van Delft rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, Michi made a bit of a mistake there in the last corner. Gosby managed to go side by side with him. I think the top 3 had quite a decent start. Mick as well. I think Patel didn't he start like P7, already gained 2 positions. Further at the back we had as Gosby is making a move on Michi again outside of the hairpin. Is Michi able to defend? No, he's not. Wow. Martin Gosby, awesome move around the outside of the hairpin. That's a really tricky one there. Like we saw it earlier in the pro race. Everyone who was going around the onside was like pushed off the track afterwards. Yeah.
DRS assistance required for Gosby there, who moves his way up into P2. And we've been talking, well, we were saying he's had a bit of a patchy start to the season, but word from the flag to flag boys is that a setup might have been developed that really suits these drivers now. And certainly in these early stages, Gosby looking as strong in the race as he did in qualifying, albeit we're only coming to the end of lap 2 now as well. And we were looking, doing free practice, Peter, at the pace of the Musto boys on their race pace. And certainly in comparison to what the ACR boys were doing, I think that these guys have a lot to be excited about. They were looking very strong.
Yeah, they were. It's quite interesting. In the end, it's always different in the ways to the practice, right? Because like we've seen in all of the other races, there are always huge slipstream trains, DRS trains. Like you can see now, Martin Gosby is in the DRS of Simoncic, Hoyer in the DRS of Martin Gosby, and that goes on and on until like someone goes a bit slower and goes out of the 1 second window. Martin Gosby actually is really close to Simoncic. He might be able to make a move here.
That was a bit defensive there from Simoncic, who goes a little bit deep into the arena. And what of Gosby around the outside, and he completes the move? Oh, that's a wonderful move to take the lead of the race for Martin Gosby, who, I mean, well, don't throw it away now, Martin. This is an incredible piece of work that you're doing here. His last race win was the British Grand Prix in 2017. It's been almost a full, in fact, no, it's been over a year since his last win. And in these early stages, he's flying away, Peter. Great work.
Yeah, awesome move. We talked about his race pace not being as good as his qualifiers in the last races, but well, he's proving us wrong. He ran from P3 to P1, and it looks like he might be able to pull a gap to Johnny here.
Absolutely. We've had some early retirements, by the way. Becker, Araneda, and Giglioli all out in the opening stages. Araneda was missing practically a third of his car. When I looked at him, I think he lost it in the final sector. I'm not entirely sure. And I think Paresis has had a massive off as well, because he's now 30 seconds behind even the car ahead of him, Birakov, at this current point in time. So only 18 runners and riders now remaining in this race as Gosby continues to lead the way. D'Alessandro is still there in P4, followed by Patel, Kish, Lapala, Burlak, and Heras. And these guys are really starting to lose. Van Delft, who finds himself in a world of his own, really down in P10, although he has to be careful because Sadler and Hamnet behind will be eager to pick up that final point as well as we head into Sachs corner then once again with the leaders. And it's an interesting situation for flag to flag, Peter, I think, because the team's not doing too great in the team standings this time around. They're only P8 behind the likes of even new boys, Edge Esports. If Gosby's able to come home with a podium position today, all of a sudden that flings them up the order into the top 5.
Yeah, it's really important. I know how they struggled, especially in the few races. They didn't know what went wrong. They worked very, very hard each race to get a decent setup, to get a decent strategy, but it just didn't quite work out. And it finally starts to get better. And we can see up front, Gosby already out of the DRS winner of Journey. So for now, it seems like it's working quite well. Ville Lapala as well. He's right up the back of Daniel Kirch in the DS train there of all the ACR and Musto guys.
So really, the man under the most pressure in this top 10 is Jurnej Simoncic. I don't know whether it's a good or bad thing, though, to have his teammate Michi Hoyer behind him, because as a competitor, if I'm Michi Hoyer, I'm thinking, oh, I've got a chance to one-up my teammate here. But at the same time, Simoncic is in the championship battle. Do you think there's actually realistically going to be any chance that we'll see Michi have a little go on Jurnej if the opportunity presents itself?
I think it will. It might even be team order, like they're changing positions to save fuel. Or, well, maybe Michi thinks he's faster and they will go through. So yeah, we will see.
Of course. If you're not entirely sure about the whole race conditions when it comes to the World Championship, a plethora of boost options available to our drivers alongside the DRS, of course. And so all of a sudden, this whole boost management and fuel management by proxy becomes a huge part of this race on top of the tire strategy, which needs to be kept in mind as well, of course. The man who started on the soft tires in the top 10, Becker, he's out of the race already. And so the majority of these guys on the super softs, what sort of lap are we expecting them in for their first stop?
I think it will be somewhere between lap 11 and 14. 14 for the drivers who are really good on the tires, and 11 for the usual ones, like I have normal wear on the tires. And I think there might be some who are even stopping early.
Say what, there's a great battle going on outside the points here down in P12. Greco, Klopp. We welcome back Renz Klopp after a long absence from Formula Sim Racing. The ex-Ace champion, I think it's the 2015 Ace champion, back in the car. And as you said earlier, pretty much taking over from Marco Conti for the rest of the season. So we believe Harley Hamlet, the Aussie, in there as well. Mashuli not too far behind as well. Mashuli, may I remind you, who started from the pit lane. He's only 13 seconds off the lead, so the Italian doing very well. But the Italian at the head of this train, David Greco, oh, he is an experienced head, the most experienced in the field at 108 races. This is his 109th. He's taken plenty of poles, he's taken plenty of wins, and he's taken more podiums than anyone else in the current field can say. So is he going to, oh, well, he knows that this is still early in the race, and maybe defending against a very hungry Renz Klopp might not be the best idea. Although the two of them go side by side out of the hairpin, they're kind of dropping Hamlet and Mashuli, who might have come into contact behind Mind. But the Dutchman Klopp goes up the inside of the arena, and a little bit of a twitch from Greco means that Klopp is through into P12. Oh no, I lied. My bad. The two cars look similar. It's Greco who remains ahead. Klopp, who had a little bit of a twitch, he stays in P13. So lap 8 of 67 then. Gosby leads, but the gap has come in. Peter down to 0.8 of a second. All of a sudden, Simoncic less under pressure, and more looking to apply the pressure on our current race leader.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, if my live timing is working correctly, Martin is pulling away again from Johnny. So last lap he was quicker than Johnny, unless my live timing is not showing the right numbers.
I think this is similar probably to what happened last time out in Silverstone. Martin needs to be careful with how he's using his fuel here, because we saw Michi Hoyer really struggle with his fuel at the end of the Silverstone race, because when you're at the front, A, you don't have the slipstream, and B, you sort of think that you need to defend. So the people behind can just sit in a lower mixture, have the DRS, have the slipstream, save fuel, and coast, which is probably what Yerne's doing right now. Right now, there's no reason for Yerne to overtake Gosby. He can let Gosby go. He can let Gosby potentially kill his tyres early or something along those lines. So I think that's why we're seeing the gap stay similar to what it is, because Yerne is going to be having the DRS, having the slipstream, staying there and just being quite calm, which is what we can basically see all the way back to Sergi Eras right now in P number 9.
Welcome back, by the way, Cam. Is everything okay?
Yes, I've just been sort of reading some messages, keeping up with the race. You guys having it sorted, but it's been a very good first few laps to this race, and it's good to see that Martin has actually got some nice race pace today.
Oh, for sure. We'll see how that develops over the next 60 laps or so. By the way, in that battle for P12, Renz Klopp has now made his way past David Greco up into P12, although he lost a hell of a lot of time actually to James Sadler ahead of him. There's now 4 seconds separating the two, though. The Dutchman is looking pretty handy, actually, and I would not be surprised to see him look to catch back up to that battle for the final point. As we remain with this Gosby train. And for a few laps, I was thinking, oh, wow, he's really got some pace. He's really striding away. But I tend to lean towards what you're saying on this one, Cam. I reckon the ACR boys have just been keeping it calm, realizing that the race still has a very long way to go. And whilst Gosby might be burning away his tyres, they can focus on saving their tyres. They're ahead of their main championship rivals as well. Of course, Alessandro and Patel still in P4 and P5.
After I just noticed something that passed me on the first few laps is Michele D'Alessandro is actually just sitting behind Michi Hoyer. So I'm sure what Yerne is saying, because I assume that Yerne and Michi are in contact in some sort of voice chat. So Yerne is probably saying to Michi, just don't help Michele at all. Just keep him there, because for Simoncic, the only thing he really needs to worry about is getting people in between him and D'Alessandro. And D'Alessandro's obviously not quite, not the car exactly next to Simoncic. So that is good that Hoyer's in the way for him.
Well, I'll bring you in on the team boss / competitor debate that we've got going on, in that Michi Hoyer's effectively playing the rear gunner to Yerne. do you think that the team game is necessary from time to time, or do you think that Mitchie's going to struggle to make an impact as a World Championship driver in the future if he's happy to just sit behind his teammate for the moment?
It's a very, very good point, really, because as we see here, Mitchie is one of the best drivers in this league. He has the ability to win a race, for sure. But the issue is the first few races didn't go his way, which puts him in a position where naturally Simičić is the leader of the team. Whether there's any contractual obligations or anything like that they have. But I would say Mitchie is 100%, he's going for this race win, 100%. He is not there to help Jerne as such, but he will help where needed, if that makes sense. So I don't think he is going to try to help Jerne, but if he gets in a position like this, I think he is going to be, because ultimately he is a team manager in ACR himself. He wants the best for his team. He's not going to want to ruin Jerne's race for the detriment of the team. Although Michele looks quite comfortable just sitting here doing his own thing as we speak. So we'll have to see how that works out later in the race. But yeah, I don't think Mitchie is there to play second fiddle. I think he's here to win, and if he gets the opportunity, he will.
Well, I've just had a little word through from the higher ups at ACR Zach Speed, where they tell me confidently there is no contractual obligation towards team orders.
That's good to hear. That is good to hear.
If they are working together, or if they are playing the team game, that is totally down to Jerne and Mitchie. Speaking of 4/10 a gap between Gosby and Simičić, and maybe this time the move is going to be sprung. DRS wide open for Jerne, and well, that was all a little bit too easy in the end, although he goes deep into the hairpin and allows Martin Gosby straight back through, although Jerne is able to catch it on the exit of that corner, and he's going to try and spring around the outside, and Jerne Simičić retakes the lead of this German Grand Prix.
Yeah, what Martin needs to do now is do the opposite of what he was just doing. He needs to take it a bit calm. He's gone up the front. He's seen that he can't pull away, so he now needs to just do his own thing. Although this might be Simičić pulling the pin. He might be pitting in a few laps and really going and using the fuel that he's just saved in his first stint.
Well, Peter was saying we're looking at about lap 11 to lap 14 for these first pit stops for the Super Soft guys. Is it worth throwing an undercut in there to try and throw people off their game?
Yes.
Yes.
The undercut, this is simple as, the undercut will gain you, assuming you get roughly clean outlap, it will gain you, half a second to second if done right.
Let's see, wherever these guys come out, it's roughly 20 seconds for a pit stop, isn't it?
Roughly.
So you come out P15.
Yeah. Just to cut in here, but Jerne seemed to have saved his tires a lot. The last lap he went purple, and we're just seeing Michi Hoyer attacking Martin Gosby as well. This was an easy pass in the DS zone. You can see right here, both these passes, the ACR guys were saving fuel. But what I wanted to say, Jerne went purple in all three sectors. Fastest lap of the race. He's purple in the first sector again.
Michele goes around the outside of Martin Gosby. That was getting very close, and Martin gets a bit wiggly on the exit, and that is Michele Alessandro through. So this is exactly what they were saying. They were sitting there, they were saving the fuel, and now this is their time that they have chosen to pull the pin. Once one gone, they've all gone through now, and I'm sure they're going to set some purple sectors before pitting in the next lap or so.
Oh, get the man a life jacket. He's drowning the amount of cars managing to overtake him at this point. And I wonder, is he going to pull in? Yes, that's a good call, in my opinion, from Martin Gosby. Get out of there now while you can. Find some clean air if you can, and stick on a fresh pair of boots. Maybe you'll be able to work your way back up the order. And so what this means is that everyone else is released.
Did he had an issue?
Pulling the pin.
Did he had an issue going into the pits? I was just wondering. He took a long time until he was in the pit lane, Martin Gosby.
It might have been a late call, to be fair. He's out on super softs again. So if it's a late call, it suggests to me he either thought straight away at that moment, oh, I should pull out of this. I should go into the pits now. Otherwise, it might have been a bit of a late, or a mistake on the pit stop. I don't know. Either way, I did notice Kish going for Patel, by the way, into the hairpin. He's not been able to make that stick. And we've also had our fourth retirement of the day. Edge Esports is out of the race with their sole car, Jim Paresis.
Yeah, he lost his front wing in that first lap contact, unfortunately. So he probably got some other damage from that and has just decided to park the car. So that's a shame for Edge because they're having a pretty decent season, to be honest.
Yeah.
And especially as it's their first season, they've got two experienced, very good drivers in Jim Paresis and George Manasakis. But this isn't the race for them.
So let's see, where did Gosby come out?
P14.
P14. He slotted in just well. If he was behind Hamnet, he's now ahead of him, as his teammate actually Lapala coming in as well. So flag to flag sim racing, pulling the trigger, so to speak, on these pit stops, looking to try and unsettle the field. And actually, Gosby came out on soft compound tyres, not super soft tyres, which makes a lot more sense to me because you're going to be wanting to go further into the race.
Yes, rFactor 2 sometimes needs a little time to update the graphical representation of what the tyres are for the spectators of the session, but that's fine. He's on the soft tyres now, and Lapella is as well.
Of course, if you're interested in what tyre compounds Formula Sim Racing has brought to the German Grand Prix, it's the super softs, the softs, and the mediums. So a very middle of the range type of tyre. A lot of variation for strategy, certainly. And actually, Peter, Hockenheim seems like one of those tracks where you can go either way. You can go super aggressive, try and find a lot of times in the very quick laps that you're going to be going around. Alternatively, if you're good on the tyres, the more conservative route of trying to do as little pit stops as possible is very appealing as well, because ultimately the lap is so short that there's not so much time to lose overall, as Hoyer and Kish both come in as well, alongside Heras as well.
Yeah, that's true. It's a track where you can save the tires a lot, but you also can destroy them a lot. Especially in the last sector. Like it's really tactical. The last two corners are really hard on the front left tire, which is the problem around this track. And speaking of tires, Michi pitting earlier than his teammate again. We've seen this many races this season. He was holding up Michele a little bit there as well. It will be quite interesting to see if Michi is going an alternate strategy to Janne and Michele.
Well, crucially for him, he's come out ahead of Gosby, which is kind of one that he needed to get done. But he's so, actually, mind you, Gosby is so close to Hoyer that I'm wondering how close it's going to be once D'Alessandro comes into the pits. Since he was the man who's in P3 before Gosby came in, it's going to be very close if he's coming in this lap.
I think Michi was holding Michele up because Michele just ran green, so personal best in the middle sector. We have to rate what Michi and Martin are doing in the middle sector, but I think Michele might go faster as Janne is pitting.
As is Burlak, Patel and D'Alessandro go round again, as does Van Delft, as Sadler.
Yeah.
Klopp looks like he's in. Yep, Mashuli, of course, Mashuli started on the softs. He's going round again. And then, of course, it's as you were with Hoyer and Gosby.
Yeah,
okay.
Michele actually, sorry to interrupt you, Michele was half a second faster than Martin and Michi in the middle sector.
Really?
Yeah. I was going to say, bets on Michele doing a two-stop and everyone else three-stopping? Because if he can get this many laps out the super softs, then he did say in the chat of the Ace race that 18 laps was possible when we doubted Chiappini doing 18 laps on the super softs. And if he got to 18 laps, that means 225 laps on softs. That could work.
Actually, yes. But it would surprise me a lot seeing that many people stops in Pro Ace earlier. And that's like 16 laps less, so... I mean, if anyone could do it, then it's the most stunted Sabema guys, so Michele, Mu, and Petter.
Maybe not. He's coming into the pits this lap. It's still possible, but we'll have to see what... I mean, he's obviously going to be on the softs. I would be surprised if he's on anything but the soft tyres. So we cannot tell just yet.
At the same time on the softs, though. That's early for Felix. And James. Actually, Sadler in as well.
Let's see, Michele is coming out of the pits. Does he manage to overcut Michi Hoyer? Oh, this will be close.
Oh, it's going to be close, isn't it? Let's see, run down to turn 2. I think Hoyer's got it. Indeed, he does. They all are now behind Eros Mashuliev, who Simoncic has already gotten past him. That's been done and dusted. Of course, Mashulie starting on the soft tyres along with a few others, although seemingly for the likes of Van Delft and Sadler, the softs weren't the tyres to be on. Although, look at this. Here comes D'Alessandro then on that fresher set, up the outside of the hairpin, breaks later. Hoyer on the inside, and so close between the two of them. But I think D'Alessandro has got this. He's now on the outside with a better pull out the corner. Indeed, he has done it. He's up to net P2.
Mitchie did not want to let that go. He came into that hairpin at a really awkward angle, and I sort of winced as I thought there was going to be a bit of contact, but no, they got around it. They got around it absolutely fine, and yeah, Michele is really on the push now.
And I think what we haven't noticed yet, Yone is on an alternative strategy. He's on super softs. Everyone else is on softs.
He wants to get a lead. He wants that track position, it seems, and certainly possible right now because he's going to be probably half a second lap quicker than everyone else behind him.
Out the way goes Eros Mashuli as he comes in for his first pit stop. And so at the end of the first pit stop phase with Mashuli's entry, it is Simoncic who leads on an alternative strategy to everyone, it seems, on the super soft tyres. He is 2.3 seconds ahead of Michele D'Alessandro, with Hoyer rounding out the podium for now. Don't count out Gosby. He is still holding on there in fourth. And there's Patel, Burlak, Lapala, Kish, Heras, and Van Delft rounding out the top 10. And actually, this battle for P5 still incredibly close, as I've noticed Gosby getting tight to Hoyer as well. But a great little battle here for P5 between the two teammates at Musto, between Patel and Burlak. Don't count out Lapala or Kish, though. These two wanting to prove themselves after two very different starts to the season. Of course, Lapala a little bit trying to break in. He's been away from FSR for a little while as well, so he's getting back into the rhythm of things. Of course, Kish didn't even start the season. He's only coming in now for Marco Conti, doing a fine job up there in P8.
Yeah, this is Danny Kish's was his second race back, or no, his third race back?
Second race, or was it his
because
third?
he did Canada, I think. So yeah,
it's his second race. Oh no, so this is his third race back.
Yes,
yeah.
he's done 2 races previously, and yeah, coming back after his alleged retirement, it clearly he couldn't resist. He couldn't resist racing for longer than about 6 months, but you know that's what you get. But he's doing pretty well here, up into 8th place. He was obviously a race winner last year when he was teammate of Patel at Musto, and sitting there nicely.
And we have some really interesting stuff going on at the front. Yone on his super softs was Martin Gosby is making move onto Michi Hoyer around the outside of the hairpin again.
Is it going to be a repeat move?
No,
it goes a little bit deep, yeah. But he's getting excited, isn't he, Gosby? Oh, he's all over the place like a swarming bee over the flower that is Michi Hoyer. I don't think he'd like me calling him a flower, but you know what I mean. They're going to lock wheels almost as they go to the Mercedes arena. Great racing between the two. Excellent respect shown as well. As we head into Mobile 1, and Gosby throws it up the inside as well. They're still side by side as we head towards Sachs corner. And Gosby's going to go around the outside. Surely not. They do bang wheels this time on exit. Still side by side in the final sector. This is ridiculous racing. How are they still going? Into the final corner we go. They're still side by side. They're not going to let me have a break. Although it's Gosby ahead now. No, they're still side by side. I'm still going to keep going, although Gosby does finally decide to give that one up. He files in behind Michi, but goodness me, that was some great racing.
And as good as this looked, they just lost 2.5 seconds. They lost the train with Michele, and well, now they have all of the Mustos right behind them. So as good as it looked, it might have been a big mistake what they just did.
Oh, and here comes Gosby once again. And I think this one's a little bit more definitive. Look at that. In fact, Patel's going to have a little look at Hoyer as well. Around the outside, the reigning champion goes. Oh, contact on exit as well. Gosby is well clear. He can start to pull away. Patel goes around the outside, though, on the inside of the Mercedes arena. He's got it. And in the space of 2 corners, Michi Hoyer's just lost 2 positions.
So what this has done is this has got rid of Hoyer from that battle with Michele and Yene. It is now just a straight fight between these two at the front, with Martin Gosby, I assume, going to try and catch them up. But again, he's at the front of the train again, so he needs to be careful with how he manages his car and his fuel and his tires basically for the next few laps, see if he can try and get towards Michele. But there's now a 4-second gap in between Gosby and D'Alessandro, so this isn't the best for this middle pack, but it's quite good for D'Alessandro, who started, was it P4 or P5?
Well, the beautiful summertime flowers being thrown to the wolves. It's time to grow some thorns, Michi. And we'll see whether he can drag his way out of that midfield scrap, which is proving to be rather tasty as the laps continue to count down. We're currently on lap 22 now of 67. They're pretty much a third of the way through the Grand Prix race distance. And look at Petter Burlak now having a little bit of a scout on Michi Hoyer, and already you can see ahead Patel and Gosby starting to stream away. For Patel, it was a slightly underwhelming qualifying, but he is with as much chance of getting a podium today now as potentially Martin Gosby, already the guys behind him.
Yeah, what I wanted to say earlier, interesting fact from the top two. They are basically doing the same times. Mick is on the softs, Leone on the super softs.
We noticed this at the end of the Ace race when Chiappini was leading and Victor was in second. Victor only lost a tiny bit of time here and there, and it just got slightly bigger for as the stint went on. So if Michaela can replicate that, then that might put him in good stead when he gets onto the I assume he's going to take super softs later in the race, as Yerne has, and maybe he can try and get some sort of speed going there. But he's only 2.5 seconds back, so he's still completely in the running for this race.
I'm interested, though, whether the soft tyre is just a better race tyre to be on, given that... Well, actually, mind you, we saw some early retires, but Burlak's out! Burlak's out! He's disconnected! And Patel goes past Gosby. So, for one Musto, it's success as he moves his way up onto the podium. But for Burlak, it's absolute dismay. The 2015 champion out of the race with a disconnection. And he joins Jordan Weeks, actually, who we failed to mention, out with suspension damage, the Englishman.
That's quite a shame for Burlak, because he was right in this battle as well. He was going for this top 5 place, and I mean, he had a fairly good race last time out as well, getting P2. But yeah, wasn't for him today getting a disconnection, as it seems. Yeah, Patel up into P3. If Patel pulls away from Gosby here, then we'll really see what Gosby's pace is like this race.
Well, for all of those guys who were in the top 8, now top 7, that is one less man that they have to be worried about, and especially someone of Petter's caliber. As I say, the guy is a championship winner. He knows how to get results out of races. A real shame. And well, for the rest of the field, we were talking about this like bigger potential to score points where maybe previously you didn't. We're down to 15 runners and riders, Cam. If it keeps on going at this rate, then if you finish the race, you might very well end up scoring a point.
Well, yes. Well, let's hope it doesn't get to that stage, because points go to 10.
Yes.
But oh yeah, for sure, points are looking pretty good for most drivers here. I mean, obviously Burkov is. I think he might have just made a pit stop, which is why he's a bit further back. But obviously him and Harley and Mashudi, they started from the pit lane, so they're already a few seconds back anyway. So it really looks like sort of Greco and Klopp fighting for this the last point.
I'm looking at Sadler, though, because Sadler's had his pit stop. He's up there in P10. I mean, there's every chance that he can get in there as well. Of course, he's contested every race so far this season as well, not scored a single point. And so perhaps there is something for the Go Speed driver to look forward to. As Harley Hamnet retires as well, and what happens? Let's have a little look here. Was that a straight disconnection as well? Oh no, he just spun in the Mercedes arena and gave up. Which the inner competitor in me cries whenever that happens. There's 40 laps left. Just keep going. See what happens.
Yeah, it's just a unfortunate situation for Harley Hamlet there, because he really is an ace driver and he's reserving for WC. But unfortunately, Torrent do not have a full-time member for that seat. So if you are looking for a WC drive, then give Torrent and Harley Hamlet, he's actually the team manager, give Harley Hamlet a little PM saying, "Oi, I'd like a seat," and see what they have to offer. Obviously, their first proper season in WC in quite a few years.
Opportunities abound at Formula Sim Racing.
Oh, and I'm just looking a bit at Martin Gosby. It doesn't look that calm in this guy. He's just about to lose the DRS of Mohamed Patel, and now it will get difficult for him. The DRS helped him stay in front of Michi Hoyer and the cars behind them, but now it gets into the difficult part for Martin to stay in front, manage his race, because the cars behind him will come for him.
Well, what I've been noticing is that it seems like Gosby, we talk about different tyre strategies, but it seems like Gosby's on a different pushing strategy to everyone else. He chooses to push in the first half of his stint, and then it transpires that he starts falling back into everyone else, but that's only because everyone else behind saves, and then pushes near the end of the stint. So it all equals out in the end. The question is Gosby burning out those tyres too quickly? And is he going to have to make an extra stop in comparison to what we're thinking might be the case for Sabima and Musto?
He might not need to make an extra stop, but what we might see is some people doing double super soft where he has to triple soft. If they are 3-stopping, something like that. In Canada, for instance, he qualified P3, got up to P2 very early on, but then he did 3 soft tyres and 1 ultra soft when Michaela and other Mustos did 3 ultra softs and 1 soft. So Martin has struggled a little bit with his wear this year, it has to be said, and this maybe is a sign that he's struggling again today, but as long as he can try and keep those cars behind, he's still not in a position where it's overly critical for his race.
Well, mind you, I'm looking at the times between Simoncic and D'Alessandro, both on different sets of compounds, and I'm thinking, is there that much difference between the two tyres in what we're talking about in terms of ultimate pace? Because they look pretty equal to me.
Maybe the reason why Michaela is on the soft tyres is so that he can push, whereas Simoncic is trying purely just to use them for lap speed, and that could help him later on in the race.
I was oohing because I just had a little look at Kish trying the slight switcheroo on the parlour in this train, but it didn't work out. So I apologise for cutting across you slightly there. We've got to keep in mind that it's not just Gosby versus Hoyer at this point. Lapala and Kish are still very much there, and perhaps biding their time. If I was in that situation, I certainly would. Peter, I'd take the opportunity as well. I get to save my tyres. I get to push a little bit further into the race. You know, when it comes to the final 10 laps, I might be fighting not just for 5 and 6. I might be able to go for the podium myself.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know that many drivers like to take a bit of a harder compound to push harder. So, yeah, that's a valid strategy. Let's see. Ville Lapala is actually getting really close to Michi Hoyer now.
Indeed he is, yeah, and he's going to look on the outside here is Lapala. Although Hoyer holds the inside line very nicely. Oh, a bit of a wiggle on exit though, and I'm surprised that Kish didn't pounce on that. I think he might have gone a little bit deep himself. But what this has allowed is Gosby to pull away once again, and his teammate Lapala doing all the pushing, helping him out pretty much at this stage. Hoyer starting to struggle under the pressure. And I questioned earlier whether he was going to be able to drag his way out of the pack of wolves that he now found himself in. It seems like he's really struggling, Cam, and it seems like it's going to perhaps take a little bit of a strategy call for him to get out of this pack now.
Yeah, this is the sort of phase of the race where we're right at the point where you have to decide, where am I with my tyres? Am I going to try and eke out an extra lap or so? Am I going to try and push and just use all of the tyres? Am I going to sit and save fuel? That's sort of the point of the strategy, the point of the race of their strategy where they are. And I think it looks like these drivers, they want to get past, as you saw Lapella trying there. But obviously Hoyer has DRS himself, so Lapella's in this bit of a weird situation where he probably feels he could challenge.
He's going for it
actually,
again.
he's going right now. He's going right now. In fact, is he going to go for a dive yet? Sort of. He's thinking about it. Slight contacts there. Slight contact with the front wing and the rear of Hoyer. But this puts Kiss. Oh no, Kiss wasn't quite close enough himself. But he lost a bit of time there. Did Lapella, unfortunately. But yeah, you can see he's sort of in a position where he wants to get past, but he wasn't quite close enough. And maybe he needs to rethink where he's using his fuel or something like that.
Tell you what, there was a successful pass further back as Mashuli made his way past Renz Klopp. David Greco has come into the pits for the second time. An early stop from the experienced Italian. But, you know, I think Hoyer was slightly saved there, firstly by being within DRS range of Gosby once again, but also he moved in the braking zone where this is sort of like one of the age-old debates in just racing in general, isn't it? Moving in the braking zone, it makes for exciting racing. It means that you can do a late move to try and defend your position. That's all fair and well, but oh, so often can it go wrong, Cam? And I think Hoyer slightly lucky there that Lapala was on his wits to pull out of that one.
Yeah, things can go wrong very, very quickly indeed. And hopefully this doesn't go wrong, because Hoyer is going around the outside now of Martin Gosby. Martin looks like he is going to keep it down on the inside. He's gone a tiny bit wide from where he would usually go, but Hoyer has... Oh, no, Hoyer's using his mixture. You can see him visually coming up past Gosby. Can he keep it on the inside? Oh, yes, he can. They're going to be side by side through down into turn 8, and he's going to have to hold it around the outside now through turn 10. And yes, he has got the position. He's up into P4. Now, Martin needs to be careful not to lose at least one position. And Kisser got past Ville in the process of this happening too.
Ville had a big, sorry, James. Ville had a big tank slap out of the happen, and yeah, managed to get past him.
We were going for the same thing, Peter, don't you worry. And so 2 moves there in the space of a couple of corners. One further up with Hoyer back into 4th, and one further back with Kish past Lapala now. And so flag for flag has effectively been brought onto the lower shelf, so to speak. It's still not all over for them. They're still, very much all within this shot of at least P4. But I think for Hoyer, that was such a crucial move. I'm sure he didn't want to have to use his boost, but in the end, if it means that he is able to, get past, that's a good thing. Is Eros Mashuli there? Is out of the race, and was that a disconnection as well?
Oh, and Martin Gosby is going for it again. He's going very deep. There's contact. Mitchie Hoyer going into the back of Martin Gosby. Martin went very right into the hairpin. They're side by side on the exit down the next straight.
Well. One rebuttal for another, and so Gosby's back through. Yeah, Mashuli confirmed out of the race then with disconnection. That's a real shame for the Italian. Down to 13 runners and riders. They're dropping like flies, and well, I wonder if the flies analogy is going to be used for Mitchie Hoyer's position soon as well, because all of a sudden Danny Kish has gotten very interested in P6.
And all this is doing is allowing Sergio Harris in P8 to close up to them a bit as well, because he dropped off the back and he's catching up ever so slightly. So maybe in a few laps, him and even Felix van Delft just behind. Oh no, Sergio Pitts, as I say that, he is obviously going to try and get a bit of an undercut on these guys, although that is a tiny bit early. Considering he was on the soft tyres, but maybe that is just suiting him for strategy. And Sadler Pitts as well from P10. Yeah,
and so the important one in that one is that Klopp goes round again. I think it's between those two for the final point. Harris kind of in a world of his own in P8 with Van Delft in P9.
Let's take a look at Mitchie. I think Mitchie's going for it again.
Yeah. And oh wow, that was a bit of a late one, although not able to have as much of a move as he would have wanted. And he's got to be careful, doesn't he? Because Danny Kish does look like he's really stepped up the pressure, Cam.
Oh yeah, Danny Kish, he's been sitting at the back of this group. He's probably saved half a litre to a litre of fuel from what everyone else in front of him has. So he's just going to be using this where he can. And I've just realised, actually, as I said, Michaela is less than 2 seconds behind Journey now. Which surprised me, because last time I looked, it was nearer 3 seconds.
Yeah. It's been fluctuating between 1.5, 3 seconds or so. It's never really extended out past that. It is
Gosby pits.
Gosby does pit. Although I guess that was to be expected. He came in, he was the first of the front runners to come in last time around, wasn't he? So I'm curious to see actually what set of tyres he goes on to. Van Delft.
Oh, Ville had a very, very red line. He missed turn, like the exit of turn 1, had to go all over the runoff. He lost a lot of time there. Yeah,
indeed. And I wonder if Danny Kish is going to see this as an opportunity to try and one up on Mitchie as well.
Yes, he is. He's using his fuel mixes. You can see how much he gained on Mitchie Hoyer, and that is just a quite an easy overtake. Mitchie obviously let that one go, decided to not fight it and take it a bit easy for maybe a lap or so, as the last few laps have been quite hectic.
So Gosby back out into P8 and back out on the softs, unless rFactor 2 has decided to do its trickery with me. I wonder whether Kish is going to choose this lap to pit, though. Because I think gaining track position was important, and now he knows that when he comes into the pits, he'll be able to gain that position for free, effectively, as long as the tire, the out lap, so to speak, the warm up lap for his new set is decent enough. Let's see as they come around the final couple of corners now, and Called it.
Yes, where he comes out in regarding to Martin Gosby, and Ville pits as well, is going to be quite crucial for the undercut or what potential overcut for Michi Hoyer as well.
So here we go. Gosby around the final corner, clocks in just ahead of him. So no understeer going through that final one. Kish is now out of the pits, and I think Gosby has quite handily kept ahead. Indeed, he has. He's probably gained a couple of seconds out of that.
And Sergi actually did a big undercut on Ville Lepala.
Yeah, look at that.
Yes, he
And
did.
this was because, as I said one lap earlier, Ville had a big mistake in turn 1 and had to run right.
That is a very good shout, Peter. And for Heras, this is looking like his best World Championship race this season. He's only scored 1 point, mind, although he wants more. He's hungry for it, almost getting past Kish at the first asking.
Yes, he is very much hungry. I can tell you that from the team chats. He is. Oh yeah, he pits from the lead actually. Let's see what he goes on to. But yes, Sergio Harris is really stepping up his game over the last few races. Obviously not the best start of the season in general, but he has got, I think, a P4 in World Championship Hungary last year. So he's not that uncommon to be in at the front. And so, Simic is on another set of the super soft tires, so he is going ultra aggressive here.
This also means he's at least on a 3-stopper.
Yes, he is probably.
Is it though? Because
Oh,
he's done
something interesting. Sorry to interrupt you, James. Mitchie in the pit lane as well, and he was on the softs.
Yeah.
Oh, and he lost the place to Kish, and Sergi Harris is attacking him as well on the pit exit. Oh, close there in turn 2.
Oh wow, yeah, that was always some contact there. And Ville is now right on the back of Sergi's. He got slightly held up. This is going to be a big slipstream chain. Down, come around turn 5, down into the hairpin of turn 6. Looks like Sergi's going to move out to go down. Oh no, Michi blocks the inside. Sergi's going to try to go around the outside of Michi here. And oh no, he looks like he's going to cut back in. But that means Ville is going to get side by side the sister teammates. Oh no, Ville is saving a bit of fuel there compared to Sergi and getting back in line.
That's exactly what Kish wanted, as D'Alessandro comes into the pits now, yeah. Responding to that attempt at the undercut, and Patel in as well. And so it's all what Yerne does, we're going to do the lap after. And that's really good for Kish, as I was saying, because he got ahead, didn't he, before that pit stop, and it's worked for him. So Yerne then goes through to retake the lead of the race. I'm not so sure. I mean, this is what, his second pit stop, so yep, he's going to have to do another one, isn't he? It's been about 15 laps or so these guys have lasted on the super softs. D'Alessandro back out into P2, and Patel is comfortably out into P3 with Gosby fourth now, and Kish rounding out the top 5 as we are over halfway distance. It's lap 36 of 67.
Looking at the tyre strategies, Yerne has gone 3 super softs when the Musto Sabema guys have gone super soft, soft, super soft. So basically, if Michaela stays close enough, he's going to be on the super softs at the end of the race, because he's probably going about 15-15 to the end from here on the laps. But Yerne is going to have to do the soft tires, so Yerne would potentially be a bit slower. So we need to see how this gap between them develops, because this could put Michaela in a good point for the last stint.
And we just seen a little position switch between teammates. Sergi letting Ville through, which was important because Ville on the super soft, Sergi only on the softs, and Ville needs to follow Michi on the super softs. So a good team play by Sergi there.
I think I like to have a differentiation. They're stable mates. Of course, working for 2 different teams. There's Flag to Flag SimRacing, Lapala, Flag to Flag Engineering, Heras. They're both under the same umbrella. They're both in the same stable. But obviously they're looking out for their own teams as well. And ultimately a bit of teamwork, like you say there, to allow Lapala through to try and catch back up to what is more apparently looking like the battle for P Force Cam. I think Martin, he's had a very good race so far. We shouldn't take that away from him. But the front 3 just look too fast.
Yeah, I think, yes, the gap to the front 3 is quite big. Oh, and is that Kish going down for a... No, he slightly pulls out of that. But yeah, I think Martin has spent almost too much time being at the front of a train, that when he gets to the final few laps, he's probably going to be using the same amount of fuel when the people behind are going to be able to push a lot more. So he needs to just play it smart, I think, through the next sort of 20 laps or so.
And we should keep an eye out on Ville Lepala. He just set the fastest lap of the race, faster than the leaders.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Huh. That's very interesting. I do like the sound of that, almost like a bottle cork of a flag-to-flag car, and the rising bubbly liquid trying to go out the champagne bottle, so to speak, and you've got these three cars in between, a nice bit of flavour. I don't know where I'm going with that analogy. This is one of the classic Kirk moments where I've got no idea what I'm saying, really. But for Gosby, I know what you're coming from, Cam, and I know you're saying he's just got to play it smart. His highest position this season is P7, and for a previous race winner, for a previous pole sitter, when you're not having the results go your way, that's going to bite at you. And what's going to bite even more is if Danny Kish can complete this move through into the hairpin. We've seen so many moves down into there, but is this one going to be completed? Oh, well, it didn't look like it, but inexplicably, Gosby decided to turn that flag-to-flag into a lawnmower, and he's gifted Kish P4.
I wouldn't be surprised if Martin's noticed that, because I say he hasn't had the best results this season, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is Martin basically saying like, "Oh, I'm showing everyone that we are still like he's still here." I mean, even Ville is up there, and he hasn't had the best race as well, so showing that flag have made a move forward. But Martin is obviously not wanting to play it safe. He is wanting to go and get this. Well, P4 is looking at the highest result right now, but he's obviously looking. He wants to get that P4. He's a very competitive person, and he basically just wants to win, as anyone does here. Oh, and he goes wide there. Wow.
Wow.
Luckily, he kept that a straight line.
Good save. that could have been very ugly. Thankfully, he stays in P5, and that's the last we'll say of it. Touch wood.
Yeah, and he stayed within the DRS of Kiss despite having a big wiggle there, so this is good for him. He just needs to keep it calm and maybe follow Danny for a few laps.
You know, that's bringing it back to your point of Gosby's major issue this race is he's been the head of the train. Well, at least now he gets a bit of DRS, but his problem, he's been in DRS before. And the other guys have just been too fast, and we know how much fuel Kish has been saving up over these past 10 laps or so. Now he can really start to pull away from this train if he's willing to put the chips down.
I wouldn't be surprised if Danny tries to pull away a few laps, a few tenths here and there. You don't want to go and spend, you know, all of your fuel at once, because you never know when you might need it in the future. But it certainly looks like he's trying to pull a little gap here. I'll be surprised if Martin has DRS within a lap or so. What is the gap coming over the line? It is almost 1 second, so Martin's only just going to get DRS here down into turn 2, and he might not get it down into turn 6 in a few corners' time.
And that is very worrying, because Michi Hoyer, all of a sudden, has pulled himself back into DRS range himself. And so round the Parabolica we go then, for the 40th time of asking. The race flying by, but still a good third of the race still to go. And nothing really done. I think Gosby was able to pick up the DRS there from Danny Kish, but he might not be offered that same aid next time around, especially at the current race that Danny's going.
And Danny's going fast, and here's the problem, what Cameron said. Martin was leading too long. Yeah. That's Daniel, like, he was the last 30 laps behind other cars, saving fuel how he wants, and now he's like, oh, let's turn up the fuel mix, and you can see it, how he just drives away on the straight.
You guys probably know more than me, actually. Just a point on the tyres, because we've been talking about Gosby's tyre wear maybe being worse than others. What's worse, being at the front of a train or being in a train for tyre wear?
In a train. Because there's a bit of dodgy air when you're behind other cars. So basically when you go through the corners you will get more understeer, which means you will either have to turn the wheel more, which kills your tires, or you go slower. So basically you're slower or you kill
and it looks like Hoyer's going to get past him here as well. He was a sitting duck with no DRS there, and Ville Lepala, his teammate, is going to have a look down the inside as well. Martin Gosby is going to get overtaken by 2 people here. If Ville can hold this, yes, he is. So Martin Gosby maybe trying to use a lower fuel mixture. It hasn't worked because he's lost 2 positions there and is now down into P7.
Well, I know there are certainly hecklers who will say, "Oh, the DRS zone's too powerful at Hockenheim." But mind you, how many overtakes have we seen? And that was very committed from Lapala, mind. I mean, we saw Hoyer go through. Usually, I just say, "Okay, that's the one move done for the hairpin. I'm out." But Lapala put his nose in, and to be fair, it worked mightily.
Michaela's half a second behind Simoncic. I do not know how this happened. I want to see, no, Simoncic didn't exactly make a mistake last lap, but Michaela, I think, is starting to push now. His last lap, he just randomly went a few tenths of a second quicker in that lap. He's going to be in the DRS zone. He is potentially going for a last-minute overtake. He's certainly closing up. Oh, no, he lifts off. He lifts off, so he is taking it. Well, he's probably just saying, "Yeah, Nate, look, I'm still here. I'm still here." Yeah, you know what's happening. Michaela's controlling the race, basically.
He did the fastest lap of the race last lap. The only person in the 13s, in the 1/13s, and was over 1 second faster than Jane Simoncic. So
that's pretty mighty.
Yeah, he maybe just turned up his fuel, went into the DS of Jane, showed him, "Hey, I'm here," and now it's fuel saving time again.
That's going to be really worrying.
When did he make a pit stop? Lap 35, he made a pit stop. So he's not going to be making another pit stop for another sort of 9 laps. So it's not as if he's trying to sort of get close enough to make an undercut worthy. He's just purely putting the pressure on Simoncic, trying to force an overtake, trying to make something happen.
I was going to say, this screams of being a statement, doesn't it, rather than a move or a tactical decision.
And you know what's happening back there around Daniel Kish? Michi Hoyer is pulling the train back to Daniel Kish. They are like, if they're not in the DS run now, they will be in the next lap. But I think they're within 1 second now. Yes, they are. They're all in the DS run now of Daniel Kish again. And it might have been a smart move, so to say, from Martin Gospi to let Michi and Ville pass, because they pulled him back to Daniel Kish, back into the DS of him.
I'm thinking this is probably more Kish has got track position and he's just looking to save a bit of fuel again. Because think of how effective it was for Danny. I mean, he utilized the boost mode perfectly, but that was all created by his work earlier in the race. And if he can get just a little bit more fuel now, while he's ahead of everyone else, while the tyres, as you said by your own words, Peter, aren't going to be working as hard since they're not in the presence of a train, it means that when it comes to the end of the race, he's going to have just a little bit more firepower to use to try and ensure that this P4 remains his.
Yeah. And I think Mick just got closer again. Yeah, he went over 4 tenths faster in the last lap, so he's really close going into the second DRS zone. He might just make a move. Yeah, let's see if he lifts again or makes a move.
Yeah, looking at his strategy last time out in Silverstone,
he
did a big short shift. Yes, I bet you he will lift off here as well.
Yes, he's already lifting.
What he's doing is he is basically...
Oh, you know what? Jane is lifting as well.
Oh,
there's contact.
Yeah.
Oh, this is interesting games. They are both trying to slow each other down, it seems, in some way.
They are.
Trying to save a bit of fuel. Oh yes, Jane is lifting off. He's lifting and coasting.
You can see on the big straight, like Mick was within the DRS, but he was lifting halfway down the straight, but Jane didn't pull away. He lifted as well.
I think what they're doing is they are both just saving fuel for the last stint. And the reason why we've been talking about fuel so much is because they have 7 fuel mixtures, 1 being the lowest, 7 being the highest. And they are progressive steps per step. So if you go down to mix 3, then you save as much as you lose from going up to mix 5, for instance. But on this track, fuel is very critical. So using the higher mixtures is a lot more beneficial because the gain is a lot more because you go up, say, 5 steps rather than only 2 on some tracks. So that's why it's so critical and why we're talking about it. And again, Michaela is he's short shifting, he's lifting off. He's just saving every bit of fuel that he can push those high mixtures in the last stint.
I draw your attention, gentlemen, to Mohammed Patel, who closed 2 seconds.
Oh, Michi will make a move on Danny Kish.
Yes, he will, actually. That's a good shout. And so the German, and his home race, of course, makes that look pretty easy past Danny Kish, who's perhaps looking to just save a little bit more fuel. He might utilize that as we come to the end of that last stint. But yeah, Patel is close. Well, he closed like crazy over the last lap. He closed 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Seems like it's equaled out a little bit.
Last lap, Mick and Yerne were in the mid to high 1 minute 16s with their lifting off, well, let's call it games that they are playing with each other, trying to work out their strategy. And always, Yerne made a bit of a bolt here. Is he trying to make a little bit of a gap? Let's see what the gap. Yes, 1.1 seconds. Yerne has backed him up here, and now to make Michaela think he's saving fuel, and now he's just bolted again. It's very interesting games that they're playing with how they're using their strategy for the race. We haven't seen anything like this so far this season.
This is the World Championship, not chess, gentlemen.
Well, some would argue that is very similar because to win and get one up on your opponents, you have to think of some alternate ideas. And this, as I said, we haven't really seen anything like this, as in being so visual and being so severe. Usually you can't really see people saving fuel. But here they are visually playing games with when they're pushing, when they're using their tires, when they're using their fuel. It's quite a complex strategy, actually.
I'm you know that Zach Galifianakis gif of all the maths going through his head? Yes. That's what I'm thinking of when I'm looking at these two drivers now. And you can actually see how much he's bolted in comparison to Patel as well. He's now back to 5.7 seconds. I'm thinking, is Mo just going for a normal strategy? I mean, D'Alessandro and Simoncic, it seems like they've got their own ideas of what to do. Patel seems to be a little bit more consistent. And just running his own race and seeing whether it ends up, gumming into his lap, so to speak.
Well, there's no reason for Patel to do any of these games. All Michaela and Yerne are doing is they're sort of playing with the gaps between them, sort of like in a running race where you sort of go slower, go faster, work out when you're gonna make a quick dash, that sort of thing. And that's very, very similar to what they're doing here. But Patel, he's just doing his laps, trying to keep to his fuel number and make his tires last. He isn't having to slow down effectively on purpose to try and bulk the driver. So he's just doing his thing comfortably sitting there. Although he's lost a bit of time on this lap.
And Mitchie already pulled a 1.5 second gap to Danny Kish.
Yeah, I was actually looking back to the flags. I think Lapala's getting pretty impatient to get past Martin Gosby.
No, the other way around, actually.
They are the other way around. Never mind me. Lapala's gotten past Gosby since we last looked.
I think that was still from the moment when Mitchie passed Gosby, Villa went through as well.
You're right. Never mind the lead commentator. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So those two are still looking to keep in touch with Kish, which is becoming less and less likely. And actually, let's give a little shout out to Sergei Heras here in P8, who just comes into the pits as we speak. He's having a blinder of a race, really, when you think about it, to remain so close to the top 7.
He's not a slow driver. He lacks experience, for sure. He only has really been properly sim racing since, like, basically the beginning of last year. He sort of did the end of 2016. And he is definitely very quick, but he needs to have that sort of experience that people like, I mean, Martin has been in FSR since 2009, I think. Even though he's not that old, he's still been around, and that experience really counts when you're at the highest level.
Villa is not doing his tires any good in the hairpin. He's sliding around a lot. So
are they trying to push, or?
No, well, like, Gosby was following him through the straight, and Villa was like all sideways through the hairpin, so I think he will pit soon.
Yes, but he will be going to the soft tires, and Gosby's probably going to stay out for a few more laps and go to the super softs to the end. So that teammate battle will get interesting when Gosby's on the faster tires. Because obviously Villa got past when he was on the fast tires. Oh yes, so this must be for a set of soft tires, I would assume, going to the end for Villa Lapala.
He's certainly been having a strong race for sure. And Gosby, as we say, goes round again. Let's take a little look at those tyres. Looks like softs to me.
Yes. So not many people deciding to use the mediums this race. I saw that Harley Hamnet was on them earlier on in the race.
Yeah, Harris might undercut him. Yeah, I think so. He did.
Oh, he has.
Wow. Okay, that is a huge undercut. So this is really important for basically Michaela. Well, he's going to the super soft, so he potentially will pit after Yerne. But if that undercut is best part of a second that we've seen with Eras, that could be quite crucial for the outcome of this race.
But don't forget what I said the lap earlier. Wille had a massive drift in the hairpin. This would have cost him a lot of time. So the undercut might not be this as big as it looks right here.
He's been lucky to stay
Oh, and
ahead of
Mick is really close to Janne again.
He is indeed. 3/10 the gap as they cross the line. And, well, I wonder if we're going to see a similar strategy employed by Danny Kish further up the grid here, as Martin Gosby comes in for his final stop as well.
Oh, and Mick is going for it, I think.
Yep, he is going for it. D'Alessandra's going to try and get track position. He goes to the outside, and, well, I say he's going to go for track position. He has got track position. D'Alessandro takes the lead of this race. And now, what of you, Jerne Simoncic? Has the strategy gone awry?
I think.
Oh, and Sergi might get Martin Gosby as well. Sergi has got Martin Gosby. That is a good undercut for Sergi right there.
What would be really...
2 cars.
You know what would be a really in-your-face move by Michele? Pit now for super softs.
Can he make it to the end, though?
He did. He can. He did 18 laps in the first stint, I think, or 17.
Let me rephrase. Is it recommended to go to the end on super soft?
Well, we saw Chiappini in Ace do 18 laps at the end, and he was quicker than Victor, who did 20 laps on soft. So,
I guess actually there is still the idea that there's the road continuing to grow with real road. Of course, it continues to improve. Grip continues to improve all round as Mitchie comes into the tits. Yeah.
This tire will be super soft, I think. Yes, which means that Jerne is probably... Jerne hasn't used soft tires. Jerne has to go to soft tires.
Yeah,
he
needs
to.
Jerne should pit ASAP then to get an undercut before Michele pulls away. Because Michele is going to be on the super soft tires. And, well, he's going to be on super soft tires in a position where he could push to the end. So this is a critical zone for Jerne right now. I would suggest he pit this lap for soft.
Van Delft has been in and out of the pits for his final stop as well. He's into P10 behind Renz Klopp, who just needs to pit as well. And is Mr. D'Alessandro going to call Jerne's bluff?
He's
pitting. He is
Jerne
pitting.
Follow
They
him,
both pit.
Yes, he had to. He couldn't allow Michele to get an undercut on, although even if it was ahead, he would still get an undercut. Well, yes. I assume same strategy as Michele, being sister teams. What do they all choose? Yes, as we thought, super soft for Michele, soft for Jerne. And Danny Kiss comes in as well.
So it is going to be a straight fight to the finish. D'Alessandro on super softs, Simoncic on softs, and do not count out the super soft runner Patel either. Mitchie is going to overtake Kish, so that
and Gosby as well. Gosby as well, and potentially Sergi Arras. Going side by side down in turn 2. Sergi Arras is going to get him, and that's good because, or he might get DRS off Martin Gosby as well, so he's going to have to defend this. Although Sergi got a really bad exit, Danny is going to come flying past here. Looks like with Ville just behind him as well. And Danny Kiss going all the way around the outside. Both of them with DRS. It's quite a corner when you go around the outside. And Kiss, can he go down the outside or the inside even? Yes, just about. Sergi's going to hold it, but he's going to have to give... Oh, no, he's going to keep it on the curb, actually. He's going to keep it on the curb. He's going to keep his foot in it. Good job, Sergi, but he's going to try a dive down into turn 8. No, he's going to fill in. So that undercut worked for the Flag boys in some respects.
It really did, didn't it? I think Kish had to utilise a bit of boost there to get past Heras, because he kept his footing on the curbing, and it worked massively well. Either way, I mean, even if Heras was to lose a position to Lapala, which is looking more and more likely with the Finn's pace, still a great race for him, to be honest. And that undercut almost worked wonderfully well, as it does for Michi Hoyer. He has escaped the Wolves. He's 3 seconds clear of Gosby. And as long as he keeps up this pace, then P4 is his.
Martin isn't going to let Michi get away.
No.
As we've seen all race, Martin has been somewhat aggressive or offensive is probably a better term. So he's going to be going to try and close
and
down
I think
Mitchie.
Sergi will make a move on Daniel Kish, maybe? Is he close enough? He's not.
Unfortunately, he could not get past there. But yeah, Sergio up to P7 doing a fantastic job, as we have been saying, and he's certainly keeping on the pace with the top guys this weekend. And he is on the soft tires as well as the Pella, when Kiss is on the super softs. That is something I haven't quite fully recognised just yet. So this is going to be really hurting Kiss if he has to sit behind Martin Gosby on the soft tires.
You'll have to forgive me because my rFactor has just crashed. So continue to talk while I try to get back in.
Just an update. Top 3 actually. Michele and Mu Patel both in the 13s, while Jane Simoncic is only in the 14s.
Mohamed Patel with the fastest lap of the race last lap.
Yeah, Patel is really close. He was 10 seconds off this battle, and now he is only 2 and a bit off Jane. That is how much Michele and Jane
Kish
played
is
their
close.
games.
Kish is very close to Gosby. He's making a move. He's trying it around the outside of the hairpin. Same for Ville making a move on Sergi as well, on the inside of the hairpin. And both...
Martin's going to keep it going. Oh no, not quite. But Ville definitely will. Keeps the place into P7. And Martin, is he going to try go around the outside of turn 8? Yes, he is. That's going to be the inside if he can hold it through turn 10. Yes, it is. Side by side through turn 10. Awesome racing as they come out down into the stadium section. We saw Gosby do this side by side earlier, so we know that he can do it. But Kiss is going to hold it around the outside with that superior grip on the super soft tyres. And Gosby has to give up this time. And all this is doing is letting Michi Hoyer get away a little bit.
Oh, and Michele Di Alessandro another fastest lap, 13.4.
Can I just say, the pro race earlier I did a 13.2. Beat that, Michele.
Sergi running pretty right there in turn 1, losing a bit of a gap to Ville Lapala, who's now actually kind of close to Martin Gosby. Let's see if he wants to make a move. Oh yes, he's going for it. He's gaining a lot.
Yeah, I think Gosby is probably just using a lower mixture, letting that be a nice easy pass. No point wasting time with your teammates when there is a position to be gained just up the road. Ultimately, they are driving for the team as well as themselves.
So we've got to give commendations to Gosby. I mean, as you said earlier in the race, he wants to let people know he's still here. Okay, the setup's maybe not where it is at the moment, or where it should be at the moment, but, you know, it's getting there.
Yeah, having said that, in Bahrain, I think Gosby finished like P13, way off the pace, couldn't do anything. So it's certainly an improvement. And I mean, even Ville, I mean, he had quite a bad start of the season, being caught up in a couple of crashes. So they're sort of coming to fruition here a bit. But obviously, the ACRs and the Musto and the Netrex of Kiss have slightly better race pace, slightly better tyre wear, whatever, at this current moment. But they are certainly right there in P7, 8, and 9.
And the gap between Mu and Yone is smaller than the gap between Yone and Mick.
So Michele is pushing very, very hard to create this gap that would probably be unassailable for Yone in a few laps' time.
I was going to say, Patel's just set the fastest lap of the race, but that has been smashed by Kirill Birakov down in P13, who set a 1:12.678. Where's that been all race?
Oh, that might have been a bit of full lap mix 7 action.
Yeah, maybe. Not that he's got anything to lose at this point. He's the last of the 13 runners. So might as well try and go for a bit of glory with the fastest lap.
He got that somewhere else. Trying to think what race it was. There was another race. I'm pretty sure it was Birakov. He had an awful race, but he still went and got fastest lap, showing that he at least has the pace, and it just wasn't the race for him. And yeah, Mu Patel, I just realised he did a 13.3.
Yes.
And a couple of laps ago, so that is very quick pace, a few tenths faster than what Yone can do. So this gap is going to come down. I think in a few laps' time, we are going to be seeing Patel challenging Simoncic.
Yeah, we're into the final 10, aren't we? And it is looking more and more likely that Simoncic is going to lose this second position more than someone's going to overhaul D'Alessandro for the win. And it goes back to this point that we were making through qualifying. Okay, you've got a fast setup, you can take pole position. That's all fine and well. But there's a reason why D'Alessandro's winning the World Championship at the moment, and that's because he's taken more race wins. And it's looking more and more likely as the laps go by, Peter, that he's going to be picking up another one here today.
Yeah, it's exactly the same scenario we had in the last three races. Yanni was dominating qualifying, was leading a lot of the race, and then suddenly Mick decides, yeah, now it's time to take P1, and then he takes P1 and goes away.
Michaela doesn't have the raw speed over Yerne, I don't think, but he is, as we saw earlier on, he is very tactical with how he plays his race. In that first stint, he was in P4. He was behind who would have been? It would have been Gosby and Hoyer at the time, and he just sat behind them, playing it cool. He knew that if he played it right, he would get into this position, and that is the type of forward thinking that I think maybe Yerne is not quite as good at, despite him having the pace. And Patel, as I said last lap, is he's going for a dive here on the inside. That is a bit of contact, potentially just on the front wing there, and that was very tight. Patel possibly shouldn't have gone for that, but it's all good, so he'll try again another time.
Little fun one. Birokov, another fastest lap, 12.4, and 12.4, and I was spectating him a bit in the last lap. He was going very slow. He only did a 21, so he might have playing a bit of a game here, going slow one lap, cooling his tires, saving fuel, and then going full out quali lap the next lap to do another fast lap.
Or he spun.
Or he spun. Yeah. Either way,
that might be a bit harsh on my terms.
I admire, I admire like ambition, and for the Russian, it's something to say. Hey, I got the fastest lap in a World Championship.
Patel is going past here. Sorry to cut you off, James.
Is,
Patel has gone straight past.
It's
he is
dumb.
using... Wow, look at that. He is using his fuel. He is off into the distance. And let's see if he can make a gap to Yerne Simoncic. So Simoncic again was lifting off. Now, I know in that situation he might as well, but I wonder if that is fuel concerns or if that is just him being smart. I hope there's not, because that would really not look good, because he's already 5.5 seconds off Michaela.
I was going to pose the question, can Patel catch D'Alessandro now? I didn't realise it was almost 6 seconds between the two at this point.
Well, in Silverstone, we saw what can happen. Patel is 100% here to win. You know, he's world champion in his own right last year. Awesome season. Hasn't had quite the best season this year, but he is definitely here for the win. And if he does catch up, which is possibly unlikely, we know he's going to go for it. However, what Michaela said in the interview after Silverstone was that they might review their sort of rules of engagement, that sort of thing. But I don't see Patel playing any sort of second fiddle or anything. He's going for this win if he gets to Michaela, but Michaela is bolting off into the distance right now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's the roadblock of talent, Peter, of which Mo is a very, very talented driver. He's, you know, the reigning champion, for goodness sake. But he's losing time by the sector. I think he might have reached the end of his tether for the German Grand Prix at least.
He is here, and it all really came from earlier when he was a bit slower in the beginning, lost basically the train of Simoncic, D'Alessandro, and Hoyer, but he fought back, and surprisingly enough, he seems to have enough fuel to keep Yerne behind, even though he was basically running alone the last 20-ish laps. So, yeah, quite interesting. Yerne is fighting back though. He's still keeping up with Mu. Doesn't want to give up the second place.
No, as there's no driver who wants to always accepting that he's probably going to be losing even more points on his championship rival. Just taking a further look down the order, Hoyer still in P4, some 3 seconds clear, 4 seconds clear now, I should say, of Danny Kish in P5, Lapala P6, with Gosby still in P7, with Heras P8. And then
yeah, spread out a little bit.
It has, I know. And Van Delft and Stadler is the same story. In fact, I don't think there is a single battle on track at this stage, although with Burakov's retirement, so he is done for the day. He's pulled it into the garage in P13. generally when there is only 12 drivers out on track, it's difficult to find a battle. And so while we're cooling down here for the final 5-6 laps or so, let's consider going out of the German Grand Prix what we've learned here today, gentlemen. In order to finish, in order to come first, that's what I was going for. Then first you must finish. And okay, some of these retirements, like Burlax, for example, weren't of their own making. But there were some people who were throwing their cars around a little too haphazardly. And where they could have been potentially scoring a point, now they're going home with a DNF on their names.
But interestingly, it seems Gio is the fastest car on track, right?
Well, I mean, it's a bit little too late.
Yeah,
Although actually,
a
mind
tiny
you,
bit.
I was going to say Mo and Yerne were looking pretty close as well. Only 5/10 between the two of them. Yerne's still in DRS range, so maybe it's worth keeping an eye on this battle for P2 in case Yerne stages a late comeback.
Simoncic isn't giving this up.
No,
He's not. No, that's what I'm saying. He's definitely still there. He's still hanging on.
But the thing is,
from...
he can't, because Michaela, he has got to do some quick maths here. 27 points in the lead. He is, I think. Yeah, 27 points in the lead is Michaela. So if Yerne lets, for instance, it's 7 points between first and second. So it's 10 points between first and third, meaning this, even though it's only a few points, this is very crucial because he needs to win some races. If he wins some races, then he will get his championship back on track. And we know there's some races coming up which he is very good at. For instance, Singapore, he's a very good master around Singapore, coming up in a few races' time. So this position is actually quite crucial for him regarding the championship, because it's got to that point where if he lets Michaela get too far away, it's going to be too difficult. But as it stands right now, he is still in a position where he can win under his own right, and he needs to keep it in that area.
Well, see, that's exactly it, though. It's round 6 of 12. It's one of the shortest World Championship calendars in the series history, and all of a sudden, every race becomes that much more important. You could argue that the big moment for Simoncic was that crash in Silverstone, of which we remind the audience there may still yet be repercussions for that. We may go into to next round with a Simoncic penalty. We do not know. The fact of the matter is that he's not been winning the races, whether it's through pace or whether it's through incident. And we're getting to a point now where it is crunch time, and unless he starts out scoring D'Alessandro, and heavily at that, it's just going to have slipped through his fingers.
With 7 points, so it's 27 points now, and 7 points gained between first and second. He needs to win, let's say, 4 of the remaining races. And with this, he's probably going to have to win 5. So it is going to be a little bit difficult for him. But with all due respect to Michaela and how well he is driving this season, in the past, he has made a couple of unfortunate incidents. This track in particular, this corner he's coming up to, turn 1, he binned it here last year. He lost points. In France last year, he binned it coming out of the chicane. We know Michaela can make mistakes, so it is not all over for Yerne by any means of the imagination. But Michaela's doing everything he needs right now.
The car suits him this year. I think that's a big factor to consider here. He's at one with it. He's happy with it, and certainly as someone who can relate when it comes to crashing out or perhaps not scoring up to your potential. Because, I mean, to be fair, to anyone who thinks D'Alessandro has not had this pace previously, He has. He's taken pole positions in years gone by, and he's been in contention for podiums and wins. He's just crashed. It's his racecraft which has let him down. This year, he's doing everything he needs to.
He is. Michele is definitely one of the best drivers. I mean, he's proven it right now. He's one of the best drivers there is. And the reason why he's doing well this year is because he is just being consistent, and he's cut out the mistakes that I just mentioned from last year. And that, I think, is the main reason why he's doing well. Not because he's any quicker. He isn't any quicker, really. I mean, as you say, he got pole positions last year. In fact, I think he even got a race win. Was it Spa last year? He won. I mean, he won back in 2016 as well, which is a highly competitive year in World Championship as well. So he's definitely had the pace. He's just refining his abilities this year. And again, Simoncic. Oh no, sorry. I thought Simoncic was a bit closer than he was. He's definitely. I think he might try and go for this. Actually, he's in that window.
It's final
where he's
lap.
Close.
Well, not this isn't the final lap, but next time they get to that hairpin, it will be the final lap.
Yes.
So there won't be any chance for Patel to respond. Maybe that's what he's been waiting for. I'm just taking a little peek down the order. The flags are still close, but I think they're going to come through in formation, to be honest. Everyone else as they were. And we're coming around Sark's corner then. D'Alessandro only has one more lap to go before he picks up a 4th Grand Prix win for this season.
For the number 4.
For the number 4, indeed. The big question is not rather for the race win, but for the battle behind. Is Yerne going to turn up the pressure? Is he going to turn up the burn? And is he going to be able to overtake Mohamed Patel for P2?
He's going to go for it. He is very close here. Yes, he's late on the brakes into turn 2. This is exactly what he needs. He just needs to get a nice exit. That's just about good enough. Okay, now he needs to just be mix 7, maybe quali boost if he wants to risk the engine. He's going to go for this. Patel is using the mixtures as well. You can see he's barely gaining. That is very tight. Yerne's out onto the AstroTurf, and he's now on the inside.
Contact!
Oh, wow. Patel tried to go down the inside, or like to do the switchback, Daniel Ricciardo style, but that is the position for Yerne Simoncic. That's some unfortunate contact, and Patel's going to go for it here. He's using potentially quali boost. That is big overspeed that he's got round the outside of turn 8 and then into turn 9 and now turn 10. Yerne's going to hold it round the outside. Brilliant move from Yerne. This is exactly what he needs if he wants to win this championship in a few races' time. He needs to do moves like that to get those points, which are very crucial, as I said. And it looks like Patel has given that off. But Michele is coming around the final corner to take another victory this season and increase his championship lead. That is a dominant performance from Michele, who is going to be followed by Yerne Simoncic. Brilliant move there on the last lap from Patel. And Michi Hoyer is going to come round in P4. Again, pretty good drive from Michi. Sadly, not quite able to keep with the top 3. Danny Kiss, brilliant race from him in P5, saving the fuel when he needed to. Lapella and Gosby, 2 flags getting P6 and 7, followed by their sister teammate Sergi Eras in the flag engineering car, and the twister of Felix van Delft in P9. And the final point will go to James Sadler in the Ghost Speed. Another pretty quiet race from him, but getting some points nevertheless. I think that's his first points of the season.
That is his first point of the season, indeed. Thanks for taking us through the top 10. And actually, I think let's confirm the order as it is on track. A fantastic battle there to finish things off between Simoncic and Patel. It was so close, wasn't it, to just blowing up like Silverstone. But thankfully, this time everyone stayed hands to the pump and were able to keep it on track. It's Michele D'Alessandro, however, who walks away with his 4th race win of the World Championship 2018 season, followed by the aforementioned Simoncic and Patel. Damage limitation for Yerne. It's as good as it could have gotten. Michi Hoyer then in P4 with the rest of the point scorers rounded out by Kish, Lapala, Gosby, Heras, Van Delft, and of course Sadler picking up his first point of the season. Only 2 other finishers this race, would you believe? Renz Klopp on his return, and David Greco, the most experienced man in the field in P12. A long list of retirements awaits announcement here, though, with Birukov, Mashuli, Hamnet, Burlak, Weeks, Parisis, Giglioli, Araneda, and Becker, all failing to make the checkered flag. The last 3 of those all crashing out on lap 1. It's It was a bit of a fast and furious one, which slowed down a little, which then burned brightly for the last couple of minutes there. And we're going to digest it all when we come back after these messages. So, welcome back then to the closing stages of the 2018 German Grand Prix for the Formula SimRacing World Championship, sponsored, of course, by Thrustmaster. A really interesting, tactical, strategic race with some wonderful battles as well. Cam, were there any standout performers in there that you'd like to give a quick shout out to?
Oh, one I have to say, I think Danny Kiss did a really good job this race. The way he managed that mid-pack, I mean, he couldn't quite get up to where Hoyer ended up in the end, but that was definitely a good performance from him in P5.
Absolutely, and personally, I like to say, of course, James Sadler. I mean, anyone scoring their first point of the season is probably worth a shout out, and a well-deserved one as well. He finished the race and he got his just rewards, and we're going to reward some of our most successful drivers with an interview now, as well as we have three of the top performers coming into the room. And where should we start? Well, I think it's probably worth talking to our two podium finishers. Unfortunately, it seems like Michele not going to be... oh, he is going to be joining us. Perfect. We'll start with Michele then, who joins us late. Are you there, Michele?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. Welcome to the room. A fascinating race where you seemed to manage it well, but not from first position. You bided your time, and then when the moment came to overtake Jörne, you took it with aplomb. You maxed out that boost, and once you were past, it seemed like there was no chance for him to get back at you.
Yeah, we went for a more race setup because with higher wings here in quali would have been a lot faster, but we decided to go for lower wings, and for this reason, the first stint, especially me, and in quali we were quite a bit slow, so I was a bit happy and lucky to have a train at the first stint because I was able to save a bit of fuel, save my tires, and with that helped me a lot for the second part of the race where I had a lot of fuel to use, and I was able to catch Jörne and overtake him, but at the end, unluckily, we didn't make a 1-2, but and also the fact that Peter had a disconnection is not a great race for us as a team.
No, of course, it's always a shame when a stablemate or a teammate disconnects. It's kind of hard because you want to see them do as well as yourself, but ultimately for you, actually, it was only positives in a way because you beat your main championship rival. Check, you're able to pick up another race win. Check. And more importantly, some would consider it a risk to go purely for race setup because especially at a track like Hockenheim when the first turn could be pretty dangerous, if you're not out front, then there's a real risk that you might get caught up in some sort of incident. It worked out for you, and I'm wondering whether you guys are going to be looking towards Spa and thinking maybe it'd be worth going for the same strategy again.
I don't know. Spa will be very interesting with this very long straights, so we don't really know what kind of setup we will use. But here, yes, we were quite extreme, and this fact that we were quite extreme also probably didn't help move for the last 3-4 laps, because Simonchis was really able to stay close, and yeah, he made him probably lose the position. But from what I know, from what Patel said, Yona did a great job, and so we will see.
Of course, it's always the case in motorsport where we will see just exactly what happens. Thank you so much for joining us, and ultimately your risk paid off. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And good segue, by the way. Let's bring in Jerne Simončić. Oh, that was tight near the end, wasn't it? I'm amazed that you and Mo managed to make contact yet again. At least this time you were able to keep it on the tarmac, and at least this time it worked out for you, picking up the best type of damage limitation possible, I guess.
Yeah, well, I'm little bit mixed about the race. Yeah, of course, the last few laps were awesome with the attack that I knew I had to attack the last lap, because if I attacked earlier, I would get repassed. So I saved it all for this last main straight, and so yeah, I'm very happy for the last lap. But the whole race was well, it didn't went according to our plan. But sorry, I forgot what was the exact question there.
Oh, it was more just a general statement on
okay.
how close the race was, so you don't have to worry. I will ask you a specific question, though, and it's to do with the race pace in comparison to your quali pace. Of course, you picked up your 4th pole position of the year. When you look at your career pole position number as well, you're pretty much unmatched in the current field. We look at the risk that Sabema and Musto took with going almost purely towards race pace and race setup. Is there a case that maybe that's something that ACR Zaxby needs to look at as well? Because you locked out the front row, but ultimately you came home 3rd and 4th. Oh, not 3rd and 4th. So you came home 2nd and 4th.
Yeah, we don't understand some things. I tried lower wings, but it was slower. Maybe I didn't test lower wings enough. Also, the strategy was to get pole position and to pull away at the start, braking DRS, and then just pull away on super softs and somehow stay in front for the last stint on softs. But for some reason there was a certain Martin boosting by in the opening laps like crazy and then burning off his tires, and I had no other there was no other way for me than just staying behind him, saving a little bit of fuel, but it effectively destroyed my race totally.
Perhaps Martin Gosby having a bigger effect on the race than perhaps we, the commentators, could ever comprehend. Well, thank you very much for your thoughts, Jerne. And moving on then to the man who you're in such a good battle with near the end there, Mohammed Patel. Oh, so close to second after such a strong final stint as well. It must be gutting to have lost that second position on the final lap of the race.
Yeah, it's pretty disappointing, to be honest. I'm not that happy, because coming from, what was it, 7th on the grid to come to second was probably the maximum result, even more than maximum. Just a bit disappointing, because I wasn't really sure what to do in the last laps after overtaking Jerne. I knew that he would be really fast in turn 1 and in sector 3, so I would have to try to take an opportunity once it came, because to get close to him in the DRS zone would be pretty difficult. So I thought my idea of overtaking him and then tire saving and fuel saving a little bit would make sense. I knew Michi was pretty fast as well, doing like high 13s on softs in his last stint, so I didn't think it was worthwhile pushing. In hindsight, maybe it was the wrong way to go. Maybe it was better to push a bit more. But who knows? It's one of those. At Paul Ricard, I came out on top in an equally as awesome fight, and then this time Jerne got the upper hand. I'm just a bit sorry that I made contact with him in the hairpin, and also sorry for the team that I didn't get second. And unfortunately, Petter got disconnected, which isn't great either. But
Well, let's look at the positives. It's your third podium of the season. That's still some good points for the team. You and Yone didn't crash massively, which is another good positive. But going into the second half of the season now, of course, you're still the reigning world champion. Do you concede that perhaps that title is going to go to someone else for the 2018 season? Is it just about consolidating your losses and trying to help Musto try and win the team's championship now?
To be realistic, I think Michele should win the Drivers' Championship. He's had an excellent start of the season, drove perfectly, but it's not that your preparation changes. As a team, all of us try to prepare to win each race individually, and in doing so, we push each other to go faster and quicker. So as a whole, myself, Michele, and Petter really did well to make sure that the setup was there, considering the fact that I was like 10 seconds behind Yone halfway through the race. I really shouldn't have been on the same circuit as ACR. So it's good job for us that while we are fighting individually for individual merits, we managed to get 2 cars on the podium when ACR sometimes have a number 1 driver and struggle to get race victories.
For sure. Well, interesting thoughts. Thank you very much for your time, Mo. And I guess that we will end the interviews with the man who ultimately was battling outside of that podium position, but stormed away with P4 quite comfortably in the end. Michi Hoyer at your home race as well. It was interesting to hear Yone and how his race was impacted by Martin Gosby, but your race was impacted even further after the first couple of pit stop stints. I basically said it was like being thrown to a pack of wolves as you battled along with the Flag to Flag boys and Danny Kish as well, who proved to be quite a problematic foe for you.
Yeah, very much. I mean, considering the opening laps of the race, like lap 2 or lap 3, I got passed by Gosby the first time, and initially I apologized to the team to let that slip so easy. But when he was attacking Simončić, I was like, oh, wait a minute, probably that was intended. Like, probably I did not do that much of a mistake because I still kept within our strategy, you know. But yeah, after that after the first pit stop, when I think we went side by side from turn 6 straight to the finish line or something, or it was the last lap before I stopped. I can't really remember. But yeah, that was like really, really heavy. And especially in the second stint where I had Ville Lepala behind me and Daniel Kiss behind me, you know, I was sitting there too far away to make a move, but at the very same time, Lepala tried to attack me twice or 3 times into the hairpin, and I was like, all right, you need to do something to get out of that situation, because surely if I would have dropped behind Lepala or even Kiss, yeah, that would have destroyed my strategy in my race completely.
It's another race where perhaps the pressure mounts on you to become almost like a rear gunner to Simončić as you head into the second part of the season. It was fascinating because we had that message through from the ACR higher ups about, oh, you know, there's no contractual obligation or anything. You two are out for yourselves. If there's any teamwork, it's between you two. But for Michi Hoyer, the individual, is there any race that you're targeting in the second half of the season where you're thinking this is time for Michi Hoyer to get his first race win? Because I think there's a lot of people behind you to get that first win eventually, but obviously as time goes on, there might be a little thought of, oh, well, you know, is it ever going to happen? Because, I mean, I've got a faith, but I'm just wondering whether that might affect yourself as well.
I had this thinking right on the Silverstone circuit where I was leading pretty much 25 laps of the race, to be then called out by the same problem Jenny got literally called out today as well, leading the race. You know, we have seen six rounds of the season though. I would say it's right today where ACR Sax Speed has learned the most out of it. Speaking about pressure and your actual question, whether, I mean, honestly, I'm here to win, really. Yes, I've just achieved 2 podiums yet, but at some point there's going to happen something, or at some point I just get everything right and then I'm going to be in the top spot. It's just a matter of times. And I won't keep pushing. I will keep pushing to that, and I won't stop trying unless I achieved it. And if I never achieve it, dear God, then it's the way it is. I mean, we're sitting in one of the strongest grid, if not the strongest grid in open wheels among rFactor too. So getting a win there actually means something, and it's not going to get gifted to you simply easy.
I like the confidence. I like the ambition. And I hope it comes for you sooner rather than later, Mitchie. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you to all of our interviewees for joining us as well. And Cam and Peter, to really close off this broadcast with a couple of thoughts. We're heading to Spa next in a couple of weeks before we head into sort of our summer schedule with breaks here and there, longer than the usual. It's a longer track, but in a similar vein to Hockenheimring. You've got the straights, you've got obvious overtaking opportunities. I wonder whether we're going to see a change of approach from ACR Zaxby. I wonder whether Musto and Sabema's foresight on the race setup is going to help them. It's all setting up very nicely as we begin our downhill climb into the second half of the season.
I have one word for Spa.
Yeah.
Slipstream.
Yes.
Yeah, it will be. We will have a lot of fun. Well, we will see.
Yes.
But there will be a lot of overtakes. A lot, probably. And I don't know. There will be a lot of fights, in my opinion. But of course, we will see.
Michaela,
just
got a question actually there. In qualifying, you did slipstream, but you were still 2/10 off. Was that? But didn't you say you had lower wings for the race? How come that was? Was it purely just for sector 3 in quali?
No, I had quite well. The fact is that it wasn't planned. It wasn't planned. I just was going to do my second attempt, and I found Mu that was in end of sector 2. So I said, okay, he's around the hairpin. I will go out and I will give him slipstream. Mainly for what happened in Silverstone, for what he did for me in Silverstone, but in both times I gave him slipstream and he gave me slipstream. We failed sector 1 and sector 3 in our lap. When he gave me slipstream, I was already 1.5 tenths down, so I had no chance to improve.
I'm sure we're going to see a lot of that happening in Spa as well. And we had some good, some fairly good test races there earlier on in the season as well. So that's going to be a pretty good race to look out for in 2 weeks' time. And I'm sure maybe even ACR will start bringing out some tactics like that to try and get pole position there.
But both times were not planned at all. And to be honest, Silverstone, he failed his lap, so he decided to be kind with me and he gave me his slipstream, even if I think I could have got the pole position anyway. And here we just found each other in the track, so
I wonder if you'll find each other again. It's a question all for next time, of course. We hope that you have all enjoyed watching from home. Of course, if you're just catching the end of the broadcast and you're thinking, oh, I want to see the whole of it, fear not. Of course, we've got the Pro, Ace, and World Championship replays going up soon after. And if you don't have time in your busy lives, then we've got highlights coming up later. I think it's either the next week or the week after. They'll be coming. Don't you worry. You can watch it in like a 5 to 10 minute nice little chunk. It's wonderful. You can do that with the rest of the races as well. But 2 weeks' time, be there when we head to Spa-Francorchamps. Obviously, the Pro, Ace, and World Championship races all happening on the same day once again, as always. And really, it just leaves me to thank my 2 co-commentators and cameramen for this evening, Mr. Peter Schulze, Mr. Cameron Rodger. I've been James Kirk, and from all of us here, it is a very warm goodbye.
Hey man, I got that new TMX Thrustmaster wheel. It's going down.
Xbox One?
I can't wait to play when I get home.
You'll let me play?
Yeah, after I play first.
You know, I'll race it for it.
Well, I have to hand you.